Good evening, Barbados. Oh my goodness, it's a wonderful Sunday evening. I feel so alive. It's 7:01. I am a minute late. I am 1 minute late. I am 1 minute late. Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? It's beautiful. It's April 28th, Sunday, April 28th. I hope you had a beautiful Sunday. Yes? Tomorrow is a holiday. It's Monday. Tomorrow, Monday, April the 29th. No work. I'll be at Joe's River. Where will you be? At 5:45, we are headed down to the St. Elizabeth's, the primary school. And somebody's going to tell me the correct name of the primary school. I think it's St. Elizabeth Primary School. That's where we're going to be. At 5:45 tomorrow. We have so many children we're picking up. I've been told my husband is something else. He loves kids. So from our school, we have all these children we have to pick up and then head down to St. Elizabeth Primary School at 5:45. Because the children, they went with us before and they had such an amazing time at Joe's River, and they will be back. And guess what? They remember when I fell in the water, and they are reminding me of that and laughing at me. So I know tomorrow I'll be a big joke to them, but it's all part of the fun. Oh, it's so great to be alive, great to be to be on tonight and seeing everybody on. Good evening to everybody, and I hope I'll be able to see some of you at Joe's River. Oh my goodness. Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. And let me see who was on first tonight. Who was on first tonight? Oh my goodness. I was reading the comments when I came on, but let me see. It's Junie Rock. Junie Rock was logged on at 4:24, and she says, "Good night, loyal sons and daughters from the UK. Keep the fight up regarding that cyber bill and all the bad things that is going on in my Barbados. The government is selling our people out. Keep focus. Keep focus. Let me take off my glasses. Keep focus, Barbados. Focus." ah, keep focus. Judy Rock, oh my Lord, I agree with you. We can't take our eyes off this cyber bill. We can't take our eyes off this cyber bill. Did you see the newspaper today? Retired Chief Justice Simmons, David Simmons. They sent him out. They sent him out. Huh? Wow. And so he's come out to convince us that this legislation is good for us. Huh? It's like somebody giving us poison. And then send a doctor out to tell us that the poison is good for us. Huh? So because retired Chief Justice David Simmons says it, then we all need to line up and go right ahead and say, yay for the cybercrime bill that takes our constitutional and human rights away from us, but yay for it, because retired Chief Justice David Simmons says that. That's not the kind of Barbados we live in. It's a different one, Mr. Simmons. It's not the same one. Born again. Good evening. I have to come and get my molasses from you. Nigel Carrington. Cecilia Murray Miller. Hey, Cecilia. Nice chatting with you today. Oh, wonderful. Yes, Colin Clark. Sandra Blenman. Good evening. Janetha Calendar says, "Good evening. I'm reading some Bajan who should know better." Oh, I'm not getting into that. Erwin Nurse, good evening. Just in time, good evening. Jacinta Green, good evening, Jacinta. Oh, Marvin Allen, good evening. Marvin Allen, a good evening to all. We fighting, and anything this government will be doing to oppress its citizens. Yes, democracy, we say. Democracy now. Democracy not back then, but now. No. Oppression, no. Yes. Yes to democracy. Yeah. Yeah. That's what we say. Peter King, good evening. Good evening, Peter King. CG, good evening. Oh, good, wonderful, CG. You have to go and get that Get the placards ready. It's all about the cybercrime bill, and we're letting them know, reminding them that we live in a democracy and the citizens of this country plan to keep it that way. Yeah, we plan to hold on to our constitutional rights. We plan to hold on to our human rights. Yeah, so we need you to get those placards ready for Saturday. Because let me tell you something, everybody, we are going to be out there. If you have to be in a wheelchair, get out there, Barbados. Huh? We need some non-violent disturbances in this country. If you thought the disturbances in 1937 was a disturbance, that was violence. They went to violence. Listen, we don't have to do no violence. But I tell you something. With all that is happening in this country, we need some non-violent disturbance inside of here, rattling inside of here like an earthquake. That's what we need in here. Yes? Heathcliff, Junior Rock, good evening. Junior Rock says, Marcy, it seems that the 1937 riot means nothing to the government of Barbados and that no one in Parliament have children, so they don't care. Right? They don't care about the bill, I think she's saying, yeah? That is what is happening, but they're going to care because Barbados will make them care. We must always remember who we are. Remember who we are. Remember where we're coming from. Remember what our ancestors fought for and what we're living in. I'm gonna read to you tonight again the results of the 1937 riots. We don't want any violence, and there should be no violence. We don't need to be violent. Our disturbance in 2024 does not need to be violent, but we need a disturbance. We need the 2024 disturbances in Barbados. But this time they will be non-violent. That's what we need. Yeah. Vernon Grimes, good evening. Vernon Grimes says, good evening, loyal opposition. I urge you, wherever you are, to do your part to prevent Barbados from becoming an island prison. Huh? You think we could take any more oppression in here? Huh? Observer status is a luxury that none of us should adopt. No, none of us in Barbados should adopt an observer status at this moment. I'm telling you, eyes wide open, Barbados. Eyes wide open. They're coming for constitutional rights and our human rights. And they've sent the retired Chief Justice David Simmons. They have sent him to tell us that it's okay to take our constitutional rights and our human rights away from us. That's what they have come to tell us, educated Barbadians. We are educated Barbadians, but they have sent him to tell us these rights for which our foreparents died, fought and died. And we are now even building buildings on top of their remains. Huh? We are building on top of their remains. We are walking on top of their remains of our foreparents that died in here. Some of them died not even experiencing the freedoms that we have experienced. They fought for our constitutional rights. And we are going to sit down and allow those rights to be taken from us? We say no. We say no. Not now, not never. This has to be the hill. This is a hill. Please like this Tonight, we are on a mission tonight. We are on a mission of education, of agitation, of mobilization, of motivation. That's the mission that we are on tonight. So I need you to be part of this, and you can be part of this by liking, finding the like button, like it, and then that is going to cause more people to find us. I'm asking you to share. This is the time that you share. I know I've gone past the national anthem. I'm going to get to it very soon. Please share. Share. Make sure that you share. Everybody. If everybody on here share to at least 10 persons tonight. At least 10. Can we do that? At least 10 persons we're sharing tonight. If this bill passes, I'm telling you, our democracy is at stake, guys. That is what is happening in this country. Good night, good night, good night, Victorious Queen, James Harding, Sandra Franklin, Patrick Green. Yes, guys, tonight we are going to go through the cybercrime bill again, because we've got to we've done it before, but we're going to revise it. There are new people who have joined us and might never have done it with us. We're going through the sections again. We're going to break it down again for you and let you read it for yourself. And we together, you and us, give your comments and we interpret it. We understand it. We can read. So we do not need, tell the government, we do not need you to send the retired Chief Justice David Simmons to us to tell us what the bill is saying and to tell us it's okay. You're giving us poison and you telling us it's okay to drink it. We don't need it. Okay? All right, guys. Let's get to our national anthem. Yes? Are we ready? Are we ready? Are you sharing? Share so that, because you know when the anthem is playing, we've got to stand at attention. But make sure that as we get it, we're getting it up now to play, that you are, sharing. At least everybody, at least 10 persons, 10 shares. Come on, get the link and share it. Get the link and share it. Yes, yes, Barbados, firm craftsmen of our faith. Firm craftsmen of our faith. You know, I tell you something. I would never, as a child, I would never know that I would be at this age in another country and holding another flag. I still love my country, but this is my adopted country. And I love Barbados. And when I travel, this is a country that I have represented, you know, in my films. The awards, whatever I get these awards is on behalf of Barbados. That's just what has happened to my life. You know, that's how it has been. And when I hold this flag, I tell you, it's dear to my heart, and I bring the same, I guess, the patriotism that I have for my, you know, growing up in my country. By the way, I've lived longer at this point in Barbados than I lived in Jamaica. You know, for those of you who are trying to send me back to Jamaica, that's just for you. Uh, but you know, it is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I know who I am. I know who I am. I know what moves me, and that anthem moves me. And God has put that in my heart. And there's nothing, no amount of insults can take it out of my heart. You could insult me all the way, and tell me all kinds of things. You know, to go back, go back where? Oh my lordy. I tell you something. I just feel there is something boiling up inside of me. And this is a line, guys. Let's put a line in the sand now. Let's put a line in the sand. And Mr. Franklin is there, and as he's coming in, I want to read a little bit here from the book that I'm reading, and I must give say where it's from. I hope you can see the book here that I'm reading from. And it's 1937 Disturbances of Barbados, a summary of the report of the Dean Commission of Inquiry, and it's written by G. Addington Ford. Okay, G. Addington Ford. Yeah, and this report actually, the report was written by a Reverend W.A. Beckles. Let me bring Mr. Franklin. Let me see if Mr. Franklin is ready. Give me thumbs up. Yes. Good evening, Mr. Franklin.
Hi, good evening. I'm a bit under the weather, but I'm here.
What? Oh
Now,
no.
this thing with my foot flared up again, man. I'm limping
Oh,
along. It's my foot that is hurting, not my head
not your head.
or
Yes.
not my
Oh.
mouth.
We don't like it when you're not feeling well. We like when you're feeling well.
I you know, there's adversity everywhere. You know, you don't always have clear sailing. Some days you're gonna have rough seas. This is a rough sea,
Yes.
but
Yes.
I'm going to make it to shore.
Yes, you will. You will. And I hope it didn't have anything to do with them tomatoes.
No, I didn't eat them. They're still there. I'm working a thing now to see how long they will last. When they turn red, I'm going to bring them back on the show.
I think that is never. Yes, yes. Okay. So I'm just gonna do a little overview of an overview of the 1937 riots, and look at it this it the significance of these riots today, or these disturbances, as they call them. You know, only in Barbados we're gonna say disturbances.
Mhm.
I tell you, my Bajan people, the mashing up the place and calling just a
It's
disturbance.
just a disturbance.
Just a disturbance. 1937 riots, man. Okay. But it's a Reverend Mr. Franklin, according to G. Addington Ford, Reverend Beckles, he was a JP, and he compiled the report. There was an inquiry that was done into the 1937 riots after they were um, completed. And so the report conceded that the disturbances of 1937 were not a mere flash in the pan, but that there had been a large accumulation of explosive matter in the island, and the incident with Clement Payne was just a detonator. It is necessary, however, to understand the external pressures which compounded the already overbearing domestic situation. The previous 40 years had, in fact, proved to be a trying period for Barbados, starting in 1898 with the Great Hurricane, which caused the deaths of more than 2,000 of the local population and otherwise inflicted widespread devastation. This was followed 3 years later in 1901 by a disastrous flood. A relatively short time after that came the First World War, 1914 to 1918, creating social and economic hardships worldwide. Throughout Europe was the epicenter of this conflict. The direct and indirect repercussions were felt throughout the West Indies colonies. 11 years after the war, the collapse of the Wall Street stock market brought about the Great Depression of 1929, starting a chain reaction which at one time appeared uncontrollable. The global system of trade and credit was reeling from the many difficulties brought about by production of foodstuffs and raw materials, deflation, devaluation of currency, restrictive measures on commerce, and defaults of international debts. A small colony like Barbados was bound to be adversely affected, as it was so dependent on larger countries for so many aspects of its survival. Added to this, in 1937, a drought in the United States created a shortage of grain, while a similar drought in Barbados adversely affected the earning power of laborers, for whom the working land became more arduous due to dry, hard soil. Although the Commission's report studiously avoids the issue of race, it is clear that covert and overt racism played a significant role in the issues. Those who suffered most from underemployment, low wages, and unsatisfactory working conditions were mostly, if not all, Black, while those who were in control of the economy and benefited from widespread exploitation were mostly white. The report paints a grim picture of a Barbados, which in 1937 was an island of um, uh, economic, I'm sorry. For them, the social landscape had progressed very little since emancipation 100 years previously. The daily wage of 20 to 24 cents for laborers given after emancipation remained practically the same until 1937, even though the cost of living had risen significantly during that time. There was deprivation, hunger, and general despair, with a deep seated resentment towards those who were or were perceived to be responsible for the prevailing inequities. It was inevitable that there would be civil disorder in a country suffering from the local and global problems which Barbados experienced at that time in its history. Similar problems had already sparked disturbances in British Guiana, St. Vincent, Trinidad, Jamaica, and St. Kitts, starting with St. Vincent as far back as 1935. So that just gives us, Mr. Franklin, a little bit of the backdrop of the 1937 riots, where there were lots of international issues that were, affecting Barbados. You had the First World War, 1914 to 1918, created social and economic hardships. You had the collapse of the Wall Street stock market. You had a drought in the US, and all of these were external factors. But within Barbados, there was also the exploitation, well, of those of the working class. There was a lot of underemployment, low wages, terrible working conditions. And so all of that, all of those things set the stage for the civil disorder that occurred in 1937. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Mr. Franklin, and how do you see that, the significance of all of this, to today?
Well, I listened to you and I was saying, take out the dates and you'll be talking about Barbados today. The same things are happening. It is just that the avoided race, but race had some part of it, and we still have that situation today. No, but it is race one, two, Trinidadians and Chinese. We have now been, instead of being exploited by the whites, now the whites have been replaced by, in some part, not most, all at all, because the whites are still here and they're not going anywhere. But they've been replaced now by Trinidadians. They've been replaced by Chinese and lots of other people. People come into Barbados and set up little restaurants.
Yeah.
And treating the staff like crap. We have we had Barbados shipping and trading who, when they were finding it difficult to operate, and they think they had to sell, they wouldn't sell to a single black man in Barbados. They sell it to Trinidad. Non-joke, Trinidad money, Barbados money would have been just as good, but they didn't want the black people to own in Barbados to own that bastion of, well, almost slavery that emerged as Barbados shipping and trading. They don't want it owned by blacks. We have Collins
Right.
Limited and Carly Laboratories. They sold to another Trinidadian interest. And then again, we still have the whites and out there making more than the blacks for doing the same work. In Barbados, today at Warriors and St. Thomas, or St. Michael Bishop on the border, we're still having these issues. So, and cost of living aside, food, everything is going up. What will happen? We might be, if the government does not set up and take notice, it might not be the 1937 works that we got to worry about. It might be the 2025 works that we got to think about, because this will blow. This situation will blow. And one of the biggest, I talk about the whites, I talk about the Trinidadians, and I talk about the Chinese that come, and some people from other different little countries coming here and exploiting Barbadians. But one of the biggest exploiters is the government.
Correct.
Government is treating the people of this country, the workers of this country, in the worst way. And what they have done, they have I got to use the word worm their way into the unions.
Yes.
And the major unions in Barbados are now the 31st and the 32nd branch of the Barbados Labour Party. You have situations where they are agreeing to government proposals before the proposals are made. Right now, there's a proposal to amalgamate the social agencies, welfare, National Assistance Board, but it's called the Poverty Alleviation, I can't remember what they call it these days, and the one there so on Column Rock, can't remember the name now, but they're on Child Care Board. They're amalgamating them, and the unions have already signed off, and they have not produced the document yet for the workers to see, but the unions already agreed. How is that possible? They are so hell-bent on pleasing this government that the government has not articulated their proposal yet, and they already agreed to it. But that is what is happening in this country. Workers will rebel. They cannot stay like this all the time. I tell you, look, Barbadians are peaceful people, but it will reach a point when I can't take it no more. And that time is fast approaching. I want the government to be aware that time is approaching. But I'm seeing the signs.
Yeah.
I'm seeing every day. People are being, and watch. You have a situation where the last administration put in place a tribunal that will help workers in case that they're being unfairly treated. And this government refused to fund it. Refused to operationalize it. Make sure that it doesn't have they're making sure that it fails.
Wow.
But they had opposed it when it was being passed, they were in opposition. They opposed it. And it seems as though they want to destroy it. It wasn't theirs. So they want to destroy it. So workers will rebel. If you, let's say you have a situation where workers believe that they have some place to go. But when you get there, there's a roadblock. The roadblock is incompetent staff at the level of chief labor officer. And then also at the tribunal right now, there's no chairman of the tribunal. I think there's only one out of the 3 lawyers that's supposed to be on the tribunal. I think we only got one now. And that lawyer this is a part-time thing, you know, they do. There are so many cases they can have a full-time system where they have a sitting tribunal like how the court sit. There are too many cases and too many problems. But no, government is making all kind of promises that they're going to do this and they're going to do that's going to be third. But then when you look at the estimates, not a penny more. They can't do it without money. So I don't mind what they're saying, or they're going to do all these things, and the minister gets up and make all these grand promises. But in the end, nothing happens. And they've been doing that for years. Workers will rebel because if you know that I have been unfairly dismissed and I have nowhere to go, but I have some place to go, but when I get there, there's nothing that happened. People will rebel. They have Ralph Torn talk about how the government getting involved with the police force and all kind of stuff. And their marshal come out and say he's talking nonsense. Basically, he is not talking nonsense. Marshal, I've spoke about those things on the show many times when I tell you that they pick up their friends to make them the seniors in the police force. The people who sued the last administration when they were promoted, the government lost, the government won the case and then settled with them.
Yeah.
So the other people there who have been refused promotion, who are not being overlooked because they're not Dems, because they are Dems, sorry, or they might not be Barbados Labour Party supporters, because sometimes you don't have to be a Dem, it could be nothing.
Yeah.
But if you don't have political stripes, you're being overlooked. It's happening all over the civil service, and people are crying out. You have some incompetent people walking around the place and call themselves permanent secretary. The only body who can, right now, even though the law does not say so, the permanent secretaries are the prime minister decides who will be a permanent secretary when that is contrary to our constitution. But who's going to stop them?
Yeah,
all she will do now is to go back into the future, the past, or the future, and change it again.
But everything that you're saying there, and I ask everybody to this book, I can't remember how I got a copy of it, and I'm sure if you you can get it at Amazon or at any of the bookstores. It's by G. Addington Ford, and it says it's a 1937 riots, and 1937 disturbances of Barbados. Okay, somebody's asking the name of the book. Somebody here saying when I did the social work at BCC, we looked at 1937 riots because we were told that welfare agencies came out of the Moyne Commission report. The welfare department was one of those agencies. And you're so right, Mr. Anderson Thompson. Come to the front of the class. You are so correct, because that we read out a number of services that came out, positive things came out of those disturbances. Sometimes, Mr. Franklin, we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to rattle what's going on, but it's when we rattle it, when we rock it, is when we can actually see change. And one of the things that we're dealing with right now is a cybercrime bill, where anybody who speaks up, that bill is going to seek to shut us up and to take our constitutional and our human rights away from us. And back there in 1937, there was a man that was fighting using his pen. And he was fighting in the same way that we're doing, but it didn't have this now, Mr. Franklin. He'd be like a Mr. Franklin, but he was writing some damning newspaper articles. And let me just read a little bit about it, Mr. Franklin. The book says, another very active participant in the struggle for the betterment of the people was Clennell Wickham,
Wickham.
described as a provocative writer for the Weekly Herald. He was a provocative writer for the Weekly Herald. Sounds like Mr. Franklin, right? In the 11 years 1920 to 1930, he consistently wrote articles aimed at improving the conditions for poor Black people. To this end, he was severely critical of the white planters and merchants who were much offended by his writings. Brandishing his pen like the proverbial sword, he made one costly tactical error. During the by-election of 1930, he supported Erskine Ward, who eventually defeated Walter Bailey, a merchant. Well, meaning Walter Bailey would have been white, right? Bailey subsequently withdrew advertising from that newspaper, and in a long article, Wickham accused him of being mean, petty, and vindictive. I guess he would have been feeling like they were abusing him. A contemptible creature who would use his money to get his way. All right. When Wickham refused to apologize or retract the statement, Bailey sued for libel. He acquired the services of Grantley Adams, who up to then had been severely critical of Wickham and was the only lawyer willing to tackle him. The defendant, meanwhile, was represented by Erskine Ward and Hilton Vaughan. Bailey won the case and was awarded £450, which is 9,600, and costs. In 1930, this was equivalent of 75 years' wages for the average laborer, and effectively closed down the Weekly Herald, silencing Clennell Wickham. He eventually left Barbados for Grenada to work with the West Indian newspaper until his death in 1938. Before leaving Barbados, he wrote, "An inarticulate majority brooding over unredressed wrongs and ventilated grievances is a serious menace. Is this what Barbados wants?" So, that was our Mr. Wickham. And I guess in this time, the cybercrime bill would have come for him. Have you heard about Mr. Wickham?
Yes, I'm well aware of his work. The judges were on his side. And that would he that was his opinion. And I don't understand how it could be libel, but the courts when they said that's how this government has been putting in place judges that are favorable to the Barbados Labour Party. And they come up with this nonsense about this Judicial Appointments Committee. It's a joke. And right now, I have been told by staff of a particular law firm that their employer, I'm not calling any names, informed them that that person will become the next Chief Justice of Barbados. And the interviews haven't happened yet. They promised him the job. So he will have these sham interviews. And I'm hoping, but because they talk about these things, that they will be shame enough to not to turn back. That's why I'm raising it now. The person's name is all over the place, saying that he can be the next Chief Justice and all kind of stuff. And people are saying all kind of manner of things about him. Some of it's true, some are untrue.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not going to detail them. But they're saying that he's eminently unsuited for the job. But he has been promised. He has announced to his staff, because the staff, don't tell people those things, man. He has told his staff whether the job is his. Mind you, you are taking people, eminent people in the Caribbean, Dennis Byron and all kind of people, who will come to Barbados and end up a recommendation for him. He knows that the job is his. So why waste time or to pretend that you had a fair process? I want Barbados to keep the eye on that. And if he emerges after everything that we are seeing here, then we know Barbados gone. Then you know that there's no justice for us unless you're a Barbados Labour Party man, Barbados Labour Party person.
Right.
And that is what we got to be fearful of, because the Prime Minister is in control of everything. She wants to be in control of everything. She is in control of every ministry, every department, everything that she puts her hand, that she knows that she has some sort of power over. She don't let the ministers do the work. How many ministers you see going up there making statements? How many ministers you see going opening fish markets? How many ministers you see go open police there? How many of them? She's always there. Don't take a backseat for anything. These things have to be open when she visits Barbados and her regular visits. She has to be there, and it's becoming a one woman rule, one woman despotic megalomaniac rule in Barbados, and the people of Barbados will rebel. It will not cover people into it. But the cybercrime bill, you imagine these young people nowadays, every time you see a young person, he's like this. You know, and I can see some young, I remember going by the university and I saw some young people on the thing sitting down, and I said, I hope the two are not speaking to each other, chatting to each other, you know, because they were on the same bench. You know, they were, you know, so if you take away their phones or make it impossible for them to use them and to express themselves, they're gonna rebel.
Yeah.
Because the act says, and I don't care how much Sir David says that I'm not telling the truth. Read the thing for yourself. Don't believe me. Don't believe him. Believe yourself. Go and read it. It says whether true or false.
Yeah.
So if you tell the truth about the situation, say so, you know what Marcia, I just say what Marcia, and it's the truth, and Marcia is offended by it, and she's embarrassed and hurt, she go to the police. And I find myself in jail for 7 years. Mm-hmm. And that is so we have to hold these people to account. I am advocate. I hope the people actually now turn up. Even though I said I'm not going because I will not be part of it. But I want the people to turn up and let them know that we our eyes are opening. Turn up at those hearings.
Yeah, you mean the hearings,
the cybercrime committee.
Committee, right? They have the
joint committee of Parliament. I want the people to turn up, and there is provision for people to sit in the gallery.
Yes.
So even if you are not given a presentation, it is a public hearing. You can go. The house is not closed off to anybody as long as they got seats. Seats are limited in the Senate, but turn up. Not until the seat's full, because they want. You see, the thing is, it's all well and good to be watching it online. They don't know you're watching it online, so I want you there looking at them, and then you say, "Well, we seeing what you doing, and we don't like it." Don't say nothing because we'll put you out for and say you're disorderly. They're gonna want to put you out, and they're looking for every reason to make sure that they get their way and do what they want to do, because this cybercrime thing is not a Barbados bill. It has been imported. Even the fines and the sentence and the sentences for of prison time came from other bit legislation outside. They only changed they just changed Barbados by top. So we got to be careful.
Yeah.
They want to put us back in 1937 or worse, or further back. It is up to you, people of Barbados, to stand up. If you show them 19, if you show them clause 19.3, because Sir David said that I was not telling the truth. And I hate when somebody say that I'm lying. When I know I don't lie, I don't have to. The last body that could have beat me died a couple of years ago. Nobody can beat me now. And she stopped beating me when I was 16. I remember I got my last set when I was 16. Little bit of stick. So so I am not afraid to speak it, and I'm afraid for them. Yeah, Deb, come on, let them read it. Clause 16.3. It says here.
Let's bring up that section.
Yes,
Let's welcome Miss McLean. Good night, Miss McLean. Tonight we just
to my friend Caswell and to everybody listening. I hope that they had a restful day. And I envy you your trip to Joe's River tomorrow. I am stuck home. I'm being obedient, so I'll get there eventually again.
Yes, when we have the breadfruit, the roasting of the breadfruit, then the breadfruit, we're gonna have a session with us.
If Catherine is there, send some for me.
Yes, yes.
A piece of roasted breadfruit. So Caswell walk with a piece of aluminum foil. Put my piece of breadfruit, please. Thank you. And if you, I know where you live, I can walk over there.
But before you read Mr. Franklin, I almost said Dr. Franklin. I was calling him pastor or doctor or somebody. Mr. Franklin, before you read General Franklin, I'm going to ask people to really pay attention. I know sometimes we are busy writing. I want us to pay attention to what we are reading in the cybercrime bill. We're also tonight, we're going to read through what the retired Chief Justice has said about the bill and compare it. So when we're finished reading the sections that are of concern, Mr. Franklin, I would love for us to read through and Ms. McLean read through the what was put in the newspaper today for all of Barbados to see. We're going to go through it together with the 1,000 and more of us that's on tonight, and let us look at it and compare it. Okay, so let's go through the section. Yeah. So what's this we have before us?
I read this on the show when it first came out. I read this. This was the
I know, but we're gonna review.
And it says here, and it says, so he said that I was not telling the truth, but this is what I read, so I know it could be untrue. When I was reading something, it says, a person who intentionally uses a computer system to disseminate any image or words, not caring whether they are true or false, and likely to cause or subject a person to ridicule, contempt, or embarrassment, is guilty of an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $70,000 or to imprisonment for a term of 7 years, or to both. It says here, if it is true or false, and it is likely. It doesn't even say that it causes. It says it is likely to cause. All right? So if it is likely to cause, and the police can arrest you and bring you before the courts. I read that. He's saying I'm not telling the truth. Read it for yourselves. I didn't make up that. Marcia Weeks did not print that. She didn't make up this and put it on the screen. This is what we downloaded from Parliament. You know? And to think that they would use anything at all to try to trick the people of this country into compliance. Because when you hear somebody of the eminence of Sir David Simmons speaking, people are like, monkey as well, here, and I hear what Sir David said. But you read it for yourselves. You don't have to, don't take my word for it. Mm-hmm. Do not take my word for it. Read it for yourselves.
Yeah.
It says it is likely to cause. It causes or likely to cause or subject a person to ridicule, right? So defamation, we have laws against defamation already. But for defamation, what you are saying about the person must first be untrue. and then anything else to flow if it is untrue. But they are saying whether it's true or not. And if it is true, and you say something about some person that is true, and they get embarrassed by it, but don't do something that will cause you to be embarrassed. That's all you got to do.
But Catherine, let me ask a question before you move from there. How exactly do you define ridicule? Even embarrassment. I mean, some people can be so thin-skinned that to look at them too hard could embarrass them. You know, this thing seems rather subjective to me in terms of what they're suggesting here. I mean, and the fact that they're saying if it's true or false, and it's likely to cause or subject a person to ridicule content. I have listened to people ridiculing, including if you go back and listen to the political speeches of the former Attorney General and Chief Justice Sir David himself, I am sure he would have said things on the platform during political campaigns that people laughed at his opponents.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that happens. I sit down and heard on multiple occasions inside of Parliament and outside of Parliament. The current Prime Minister of Barbados, when she was leader of opposition, when she was a minister of government, say all kinds of things, and we can go through that. And you know, nobody felt that, unless it, as you said, Caswell, it reached the point of defamation, and we know what happens there. And even in the call-in programs, you would recall that many hosts and station officials would tell you, you would hear things being cut out because people know how stringent those rules are that exist already. You know, and I really think, if I would say this, and I will let you go on, I would want Sir David to come and tell Barbadians what aspects of this bill are really problematic. And so nobody's saying you don't have cybercrime legislation is important, but why are you having all of these kind of ridiculous provisions? And where's the average George Jane going to find $70,000? They're going to build some prisons? You know, it is, I'm not going to say much more about that because I find it ridiculous. And I don't know, Caswell, you have convinced us as to your total frustration, disappointment, and everything with somebody who I would call one of your long-standing, not idols, strong, heroes, strong people individuals that you looked up to.
39 years.
We know that. And I think really and truly,
39 years.
So David needs to come back to the public and tell us really and truly, does he see anything wrong with this bill? Does he go back and read the section? Because he didn't read what we've been reading from the beginning. You know, so I think for me, it is clear that it's gone to the extreme. People are making their cases. It's sad that last week there seemed to have been an effort to confuse when the chairman, we heard from Kimar, and I say to Barbadians, read the legislation, analyze it, discuss it in your houses, your families, because the truth is, what was done to get this, and I talk in politics now, and I is politics because this is about politics as well. What was done to ensure that the current Prime Minister was victorious was to use social media. And a lot of times things were taken out of context and all of those things. Nobody complained. I remember a particular set of words that was attributed to the former Prime Minister Stewart. And when I asked about he said, well, it was taken out of context. He said, but that's the name of the game. So I said to him, but unfortunately, the persons who heard you speak were not fast or did not correct it. He said, well, that problem then rests with us, not with the persons who took it out of context. So, you know, what is happening now is as though I have used certain mechanisms and seen how effective they are. And therefore, we are now saying, because we saw how good they can work, let us shut down things. You can imagine what would happen across this country. You know, I saw, Marcy, a comment from one of our audience who was talking about us being a little bit too jovial, I think. And I would say to that person, the reason why we have sometimes to laugh and joke a little bit is because the nature of what we're doing, things like this are so serious. And not only is it serious, but you are faced with threats because you're doing right by the people of Barbados. Nobody here said no to defame or has been defaming anybody or ridiculing anybody. If we are speaking about issues that impact the lives of people and the persons responsible for making those decisions cannot sit down and ask themselves, how do we pull back? Because if we thought we were doing right, it has been shown that we are doing wrong. You want to come and sue us and lock us up? Give me a break, man.
While we are speaking, somebody who's watching sent me a thing that says that it seems today they call somebody a Holy Ghost donkey. You know, I don't know. You know, but he said he coined that. He called a person a Holy Ghost donkey.
Okay.
Now, if somebody called me, so I'm gonna get offended. Now, if he had done that and it come out online, he could have faced 7 years in jail. That might have been cute at the time, you know. But they won't be able to do things, and nobody else can, because you can go into Parliament, and unless the Speaker or the President call you to order, you can say almost anything, and nobody can sue you. But they want to sue you and lock you up if you made the slightest error. They want to run you because they want to keep it. Look, all over the world, we have gotten rid of something called criminal libel, but they put it back in here.
But I guess that's
because they put it back in another form, because it's a criminal defamation. You don't get locked up for it. The remedy was, but they put you in court, and you get you got to pay some money if the court rule against you. Now, there is a situation where they have made it a crime.
Yeah.
So they can criminalize you for saying things that if somebody feelings hurt, you become a criminal. Well, dear, I would.
But this legislation hurt my feelings as somebody who speaks out in public. So what do? Do I sue the Prime Minister or the former Chief Justice? No, I mean, but in all seriousness, though, Marcia, I talked about contradictions the other day, and I asked myself, when the Prime Minister of Barbados, because you hardly hear, as Caswell said, her cabinet minister speaking anywhere, goes out there to the world, champion all kind of causes, including the sustainable development goals that we're talking about, this 2030 agenda, about including other things, democracy and so on. Let her go and discuss this legislation with organizations that are advocating for human rights, for the voice of the people to be heard. Because to me, what I see is you're there saying one thing, singing one song, but then you're coming into Barbados to clap chains on our mouths because we can't come on social media. I mean, I challenge anybody to show me that this program has been irresponsible, that we have gone out there and targeted people. Now, of course, I smile because when we talk about hurt feelings, I was reviewing something that the Prime Minister said about not knowing maths and so on, but we hear it all the time. It's in her words. So if I repeat your words, do I offend you? Because you're forced to confront a statement that you made
could be
to the
offended.
public.
The reality is that you could be I could be offended, because of so many different things. As I was at the top of the show,
take a chill pill and relax. I mean, we get offended. People say all kinds of things about. From the time I was growing up, people say all kinds of things about you.
And you choose what you want to read. Sometimes people send me things. Oh, this person wrote this about. I don't even bother to read it. You choose as an adult. You manage your emotions.
Precisely. I have heard things, and I remember once responding to a guy who made some comments about me when I first became a minister of government, and he made the comments to a very good friend of mine. The guy said, "Well, I've known her for years and years, and I will tell her what you say." And then, I say to him, "I don't know the guy from Adam." But I said, the next time I am in your company, and this guy is around, just point him out to me. And the guy, I said, so I confronted, I said, "You don't know me." But then I said to him, at the end of the day, this is par for the course. But I really would hope that before you go out there spreading propaganda, you take time, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter too much. To me, the only person I suppose would be, let's say at that time, my son, who was pretty young. But I said, you know what? The people who I care about know me.
Yeah.
They know my intentions. They know my values. They know what I stand for. And at the end of the day, God knows me. So if people want to go out there and say all kinds of things, there's some choice words that people in the party other than the one that I belong to have
This is why we have to laugh.
I have to laugh, you know. Not only would my feelings have been hurt, but if you know, I call it as keeper of protocol, you should know what should be done. And then errors are made. But I never heard anybody come and say, well, we did bury it or whatever. But you know,
I saw it in the grave.
Right. I have photographs. And you see, now listen, I'll show you. Let's use this example, Marcia.
Yes.
When that occurred, I received it on my phone a couple minutes after. And I was aghast, and I raised a comment with somebody.
Now, we're talking about the comment, so people understand because we know what we're talking about.
I'm talking about the flag in Ghana.
The flag in Ghana.
After that ceremony of burying the ashes, the bones, the soil of our ancestors, whatever it was, the flag was covering the casket that went into the grave, and it was circulating. The information that I got, and I've not shared this publicly, but I was made to understand, and somebody can correct me, that information was sent out by an informal member of the visiting party. And remember what I said, an informal member, the person was not a public officer, but the person I understood, and it is alleged, was one of the Prime Minister's special guests. Now, the thinking behind that person was, I have to be the first to get information out there. They're using social media to inform the public. But in this case, they inform the public about burying our flag, which is not supposed to touch the ground. You understand? So when I listen to this kind of thing, I would advise the Prime Minister, I would advise Sir David. He's come out of retirement to speak to this. I guess he's not retired fully because he's doing all kinds of things. But, sir, you're supposed to be an exemplar. You're supposed to be, I don't use words like icon, but you're supposed to be one of the people who should know the law, because you were Attorney General, you're Chief Justice, a lawyer of long standing. Sit down and study this bill and come back to Barbadians, because really and truly, from what I heard from many Barbadians, you have been on this matter a big disappointment. And I would say that is the consensus of many people. Rather than say to people, look, you better pull back this or pull out elements of it. Because really and truly what you're doing, it runs counter to what you say you intend to offer Barbadians, which is transparency through democracy, people's involvement. But yet, as soon as there's criticism, and not criticism created to form impressions, but criticism formed from factual information, hard research, done by a group of people who don't get paid one red, green, or blue cent, yellow, the color cent to do this. They don't rely on advertisers to keep this program going. You know, Marcia, as I sat down this evening, getting something to eat before I prepared to come on the show, and the show started promptly at 7 o'clock. I remember drawing that to somebody's attention, and I said, I wish public officials would take a lesson out of your book. And it is something that is happens all the time. You're asked to stand by for a press conference starting at 4 o'clock. And at 5 o'clock, you're still waiting. you go to an official function, and this and I can tell you this, when I, for example, when I was chairperson of Bridgetown Cruise Terminal, and we had a ship making its first voyage to Barbados, and the captain, the crew, the passengers, the officials, from local officials, waiting for a minister to turn up 45 minutes later. You know, so I really think that when people start to look at these things, ask yourself what it is that you're promising people. You know, you need to respect the people who put you in office. Respect the fact that you are not a dictator. You're not a despot, as you've been labeled. And I speak now about the leader of the government. You are leading a cabinet and a parliamentary group that committed to good governance. I repeat myself, to transparency, to true democracy. And if that is the case, how does that manifest itself? How do we identify the elements of transparency? Part of that is having the people's voice. Now, this particular medium, this program that we are on, came about because there was no official opposition. Marcia Weeks, and anybody who knows her knows that she feels very strongly about things being done properly, and has a deep interest in the people and in right and wrong. Started a program a couple of years ago, but I believe you can give us the time, with 10 and 15 people sitting down on the program live, and started to talk about issues that confront Barbadians, that people want answers. And she was able to interest people to come at night. How many people are online right now? To sit down and listen.
Yeah. About 1,154.
1,000, nearly 1,200 people. Because they figure that we are, you often hear the word education. They don't come here to hear gossip. As I said to the person who expressed concern that this is a serious show, I mean, my son would tell, I always look serious, but that's my face, but I can laugh. You know, so the point is that we come here out of a commitment to do right by the people of Barbados, not to malign anybody. So what you're going to want? Charge us $70,000 a piece and pelt we in jail? Look up.
Yeah.
You know, really.
You know, we would not have a credit union movement today if we had those laws, because you know the kind of things that began there, and we fight real bad inside those meetings to get our positions.
Is Mr. Franklin a little lower, or is my ear?
It might be me, because I am not using the headphones because they're giving some difficulty, so I'm thinking it could be that.
So if you come upstairs, practice coming a little, you know, a little
yes,
closer to the
I will do that. See, I want everybody to see the good looks too, see, but that's the problem. Let me apologize to the person who think that I was too not serious enough, but sometimes you have to break that seriousness, the levity, or you know, these are the same. Slip me there.
Okay, they're
about credit union.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Maxine, you know that when we were in the credit union movement was small, and then we were there fighting, and you know we had battles, and you call a fellow a few things too, you know. I remember.
And Marcia, I will tell you that Caswell and I, when it came to the pre-meeting, we always had very serious differences politically, but when it came to the issues of the credit union, we understood the fundamental principles and fought for the safety, right, Caswell? But we didn't hurt one another feelings. We just parked the political talk and went into meetings, made proper decisions. But before you go, Marcia, I want to touch on something that Caswell just mentioned, because he mentioned the credit unions. I have witnessed, I have not been as closely involved, because when I was a minister of government, I thought it necessary, because as a policymaker, to observe from the guidelines, from the sidelines for the most part. But I have seen some legislation being put on the books relation to the credit union movement that we have to discuss in here, because as I was looking at it, I really am wondering whether some of what I see, whether the people at the Financial Services Commission understand the fundamentals that inform the credit union movement. I see something, for example, about independent directors, Caswell. We have to have a conversation about that. And then some other decisions. And I think that if you're not, you see, and that's a classic example, Marcia, of why this cybercrime bill, the provisions that concern people have to be relooked and taken out. Because if you are silenced, decisions can be made in critical places and in critical ways that will negatively impact the vast majority of people. And anybody who knows me, and Caswell mentioned it, because every time I think about it, I laugh, because when Caswell is talking about a time when we were in our 20s and 30s coming forward. And right now, Marcia, Caswell is 3 times 20s. You understand? Mm-hmm. As I saw my. So the point I'm making is that if we use that as an example of the importance of engagement of the public, because when we spoke about these things were reported in the press. We didn't have access to this. No, we had to rely on meetings. Sometimes our annual meetings would run for hours and had to be adjourned and so on, because we didn't have. But if we had access to this, we would have been able to educate a lot more people about issues. So I think that when you look around Barbados and you look around the people who were agitators for as such, let me use an example, Marcia, because they've gotten me going. I guess maybe I wasn't on the show for a bit, so it's all in my chest and
keep going.
When you're finished, we're gonna read another section of this.
Okay, I would use one name.
Yeah.
And this is what I tell people. Caswell talk about when he was born and he came out crying. Well, when my brother Wendell died, he left for me a legacy of advocacy. And on top of that, one of the things he said, because I remember asking his daughters when I prepared his eulogy, what do you want me to say about your father? They said, my father said, when you remember me, you will remember a man of integrity. And I tell people that is what my brother left for me. So that when I come on here, I am come on here to make nobody look bad. If it happens that I have to show up negativity in order to say to people what you're doing is wrong, and you get your feelings hurt, you're gonna sue me for that. Anyhow, Marcia, read the session, because I don't want to get carried away.
No, but it's good to hear so people understand who, what's your motivation, and that was, I love that. But here's another piece, and I think Rose Corbin, I see her, she's in. And Rose has some comments as well. I hope she's hearing. Her camera isn't on at this moment, and I hope that we can get it on. But it says, this section says, people, this is section 20, and Mr. Franklin dealt with this earlier, on the show. But this is a revision time, and we know that there's some people who might not have listened. We want you to be so familiar with this. We want you to read these sections of the bill to your children. Go ahead and take a screenshot of this, Barbadians. You're listening, take a screenshot of this and put it in your different WhatsApp chats. Go ahead, take a screenshot of it. You know what to do. If you don't know how to do screenshot, use your phone and just take a picture. And I want you to put it in every church chat. You know, the prayer groups, we have your prayer WhatsApp chat. You have your school chat. You have all these chats. You put it in there. Let them, the administrator take it out. But fight. Put it in there. Read it to your children. Read it to the children in the primary schools. Read it to your teenagers in your house. You better read it to them, because you don't know if this they might end up in jail. So read it to them. Read it at church. Read it in Bible study. Read it in prayer meeting. You hear what I tell you? This is the hill, people. We have drawn a line in the sand, all right? So it says a person who intentionally uses a computer system. Can you read it for us, Mr. Franklin?
A person who intentionally uses a computer system, to publish, broadcast, or transmit data that is offensive, pornographic, indecent, vulgar, profane, obscene, or of a menacing character, or causes any such data to be sent. B, for the purpose of causing annoyance, inconvenience, danger, obstruction, embarrassment, insult, injury, humiliation, intimidation, hatred, anxiety, or causes substantial emotional distress to that person is guilty of an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $70,000 or to imprisonment for a term of 7 years or to both. You see here, Marcia, if you are vulgar and profane, yeah, but they mix up everything. So if I insult you, it might not be a defamation. If I embarrass you, you know, and they said it cause emotional distress. Now, could there, who is going to determine that level of emotional distress? Now we're going to have judges who are psychiatrists. You know, this is absolute madness. They try to stop you from saying a single word. They don't want you to talk. All they want you to do, see, is to go up there, get on a red shirt, and be insulted. Because they're insulting the people tomorrow, you know. I wanted to mention that, though. Marcia, they're sent out even to churches, telling them come to the East Coast, and they're going to bring anything. They're going to have their food, they're going to have drinks, that kind of stuff. Because they believe, they are so nasty. They believe that, and they're pushing this, that better the liquor store they can come, the food. So you can have a big crowd. So that's what they can bring the food. That's what they and Marcia, we got to stop this nonsense. A lot of people bribe me with food. You know, I remember years ago when the credit union was very young.
And then I see Rose here. Rose coming in. So just make a quick comment. Yes.
Marcia.
1 second, Rose. Let Franklin, Mr. Franklin finish.
Just let Caswell continue because I am looking at something that I want to share.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
Caswell can continue for a little while.
Yes. Okay. Just indicate to me when you are ready, please.
Yes, please.
You know,
thank you, Miss Corbin. Yes.
We had some in the meeting, and they said, you know, quorum was 30, and we couldn't get 30 after the deadline for the meeting to start, so we had to put it off for the next week. The chairman at the time said, "I know what I can do," and he put on at the bottom of the agenda for the next meeting, refreshments will be served, and we had a quorum then. As a matter of fact, we provided food for 200 people. I ain't get none because I waited for everybody to get, you know. And so they believe that they got this thing that business like food and be like question, so they can bring you in there and give food, and you can forget all the hurt and the nastiness that they're doing to you just by little food. And these are people who should be our leaders, and this is how they regard us. We can carry them to the East Coast and get us some food and they're going to be happy. No, you ain't going to be happy because you can eat that food, but it can be full today or tomorrow. But what can happen Thursday and Friday and Saturday? They can get food again. You know, this here comes up the same player book with her grandfather, you know. Her grandfather used to take the grant and aid money. It wasn't his. Grant and aid money is money that came from the British government to the local government in Barbados. And he took that money and spend it like his, and gave a few people food in the park, kept most of it. As a matter of fact, when the end of the day, he had more of that money was in his accounts than was in the coffers of the people who was intended to give people a few dollars, give them food. And so she is in that same player, but her grandfather used to do it so she can come down and give food. You don't see when they had COVID, people wanted assistance because they weren't working. Rather than give people assistance, they got money. They went buy people old stuff that people had in the warehouses that didn't have English on them and that kind of stuff that couldn't be sold in Barbados. They went buy them and put them out there. You had to open the can. You say, "Oh, surprise, it's soup." You didn't know what it was. That's serious. But they went and clean up all of their friends' warehouses and bring people like expired stuff and stuff because they mean that they want to give you. If you want to give a fella something, You give them the money because you only want food. At the end of the month, you're gonna want soap and toothpaste and these little things that young ladies will need. You can't just get them onions, and as a matter of fact, most of the onions spoiled because they have them in the big warehouse at Ferry Valley, and the place was hot, and all them burnt, mash up, all the vegetables and stuff. But they rather than give the people the money that was donated for that purpose, because they like taking money and getting handouts. That is how she grew up. That is what she learned. And she coming here doing this, people and insulting us. I have said all of this now. Now, if I say this after that bill is passed, I go in jail.
Go in jail.
So
look at what Emerson Bob is saying here. I would have to go and look again. He's suggesting that there were some. Remember, this bill was passed in the House, and he's suggesting that there were some changes. I think there might have been a change, and I would have to check. But what I would say, therefore, to the public, read the read the bill that's on the Parliament's website, because I think that's where you would have gotten this from. Now, if there were changes, they should have an up-to-date version on there, but I'm not sure. Let me see because he didn't say it might. Well, let me ask the question to Mr. Bob. Can you indicate what changes, if you can recall, are there? Because that would be important to see. But while you're looking, Caswell, one of the things that I always objected to was any advertising of refreshments when we were announcing meetings of the credit unions, because it used to irritate me no end. No, I hated to hear that. So you're saying a change? Okay. Well, okay, not my one. Okay, it's.
Yeah. We have another section, I believe. Okay, not as yet. Another section of the bill that we want to read. This is a bill that is published on the Parliament website. If anybody knows of another bill, another version of the bill, a revised version of the bill.
No, what's on the website, Marcia, should be the correct one. I mean, that's what anybody would work with. What's on the website there? I mean, if they've changed it, that's what it should be. What's there should be it.
Well, let's read this section here, Mr. Franklin, that talks about assisting a police officer, because I think, and again, I'm gonna highlight this section, because as I said tonight, we're about education, we're about motivation, we're about mobilizing, we're about agitation, and it's important for you to take a screenshot of this. You need to know this like a Bible verse. You understand? And you're to share this with the people in your household. Share it at church. Share it with your co-workers. Pass it around on WhatsApp while you can. Put it in your WhatsApp groups and let people see what it is the issue is. Nobody's against the bill when it's talking about pornography and pedophilia and so on, protecting the children from that. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. We are all for that. We're all for that. It's these things that they tag on because they know that they want to punish certain people, right? And they want to stay in office forever, right? They want it to be like they want to be Hitler. I want to be in office forever. So, Mr. Franklin, just read this to me. And as you're reading, the people are going to take a picture and to share it in their households. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, before I read it, I have the actual bill that is before the Senate now. And the section that I was reading, it changed. It's still okay. True or false.
Let me put you on the screen as you're saying that, because Emerson Bob, thanks for that information.
There is a note that said that the bill was amended, but the section that I was referring to, section 19.3, that has not been amended. It's still saying that whether it is true or false.
Okay.
And that is what Sir David was defended. This one ain't going to change because they want to shut you up. Mara said they want to shut you up, they want to gag you. Matter of fact, they want to send you back to Jamaica. But we won't have it. When you go to Jamaica, you're going for a visit, but you're coming back.
We're coming back. You're right. My family's here too. Yeah. So don't mind them. But
in Barbados, like she's lived in Jamaica.
I have. I know. When I go to Jamaica, I go and lost. I can't find my way. I don't remember so many things, but I know Barbados, so they're lucky. Who they sending? Not me.
You know Jones River.
I know Jones River. I got no Valentine. I know all of these places. So let them go sit down and meet them and talk to. Read Mr. Franklin. I mean, I go nowhere.
Assistant a police officer. Section 24. 1. A person who A, is in possession or control of their computer data storage medium or computer system, or B, has knowledge about the functioning of a computer system or measures applied to protect the computer data therein that is subject to a search or a seizure, shall assist a police officer in the execution of a warrant issued under Section 23. Section 23 tells you that you can go to the marshal or judge, a policeman can swear. That's all about. Subsection 2 goes on to say, the assistance referred to in subsection 1 may include the following. A, assisting and using a computer system or data storage system, data storage medium to search any computer data available or in the system. B, obtaining and copying computer data referred to in paragraph A, using equipment to make copies. D, obtaining access to the encryption information necessary to decrypt computer data for the purpose of investigating the commission of the offense. E, obtaining an intelligible output from a computer system in a plain text format that can be read by a person. F, maintaining the integrity of the computer data, and G, rendering inaccessible or removing computer data in the computer system. Subsection 3 says, a person who fails without lawful excuse or justification to assist a police officer in accordance with subsection 1 is guilty of an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $25,000 or to imprisonment for a term of 2 years or to both. 4, subsection 4, subclause 4, because it's still a clause. A person who seeks to prevent or prevents any person from assisting a police officer in the execution of a warrant issued under Section 23 is guilty of an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $25,000 or to imprisonment for a term of 2 years or to both. Subsection 5 says, for the purposes of this section, decryption information means information or technology that enables a person to readily transform an encrypted program or data from an unreadable and incomprehensible format to its plain text version. Now, if the police call upon you, right, to do these things, to claim that you have the knowledge to do it, and you don't do it, they're gonna lock you up. Now, it has reached a stage where if the police ask you to do something because the police ain't capable of getting this about the computer system, but the thing you got the knowledge to do so, and you refuse to go and break into somebody's computer system for them, you can go to jail for 2 years. You know, and people think that this is right. Now, pray tell me, who come up with this? Now, if you want to have law enforcement, have experts, but you know what this also means? This means that cable and wireless and digital and whoever system people come in and have telephone systems in place, whoever comes will now have to give out your information, or the executives up there can go to jail.
Correct.
So you know your data is not safe.
Because they're not going to jail, they're going to give up the data.
You know, there's another section that goes on to say that if
what number is that one, Mr. Franklin, so we can find it? Let's find it.
But it's above section 23. It's
section
above
23.
It's above. As far as I can remember, 23.
Yes, I know 23 was a problem. Again, guys, we're going to go to, we're going back up, we're going up to section 23. And once we've settled on it and we know exactly what we're reading, we're asking you to take a picture of it, take a screenshot and share it, and continue, let the education continue. In addition to that, I'm asking you to share this show right now. I ask at the beginning that everybody share at least 10 persons. This is very, very important that we do this. Like the show. Important, because it's going to trigger the algorithm and people are going to be able to find us. When they find us, what are they getting? Education. There's mobilization, there's motivation, there's agitation, which is important concerning this cybercrime bill. Go ahead. Is this a section, Mr. Franklin?
Yeah, this section. I want to read one section, subsection 1 in particular.
Subsection 1, yes.
Yeah. It says, where a judge or a magistrate is satisfied on information on oath given by a police officer that there are reasonable grounds for suspecting that an offense has been, is being, or is about to be committed in any place, and that there is evidence that such an offense has been, is being, or is about to be committed in that place, the magistrate may issue a warrant authorizing the police officer to enter and search that place, including any computer system, using such reasonable force as is necessary. All right, let me stop there for the time being. It says, if you have committed an offense, you are home on your computer. So a police officer will have reasonable grounds to suspect that you have committed an offense, or that you've committed an offense, or you are about to commit an offense. Now, how will the police officer know that you are about to commit an offense on your computer? Unless the bug in your phone.
Correct.
You know, how do they know? So they're not putting bugging in the law, backhanded method to get bugging your phone into the law, because it says that you cannot know I'm on my computer typing something. And you will tell me now that some policeman come and say that I am about to commit an offense? How he knows that? This is more draconian than most people think.
But that also opens up the thing for harassment, though, because when you say you're about to do something, as you said, one, they can be tapping into your equipment and so on. But then it is a case, because if you come and you say, we believe you're about to do this every week, we wouldn't have a show either.
Correct. Because I would be about to do it, because I'm going to, I would have been setting up the show. But
so at 10 to 7, there's a knock on your door.
Yeah.
And you can't start the program.
Correct, Miss McLean. This is a very serious thing, you know. Today was a day again. I stop and I think, and this is why I said tonight's show we go. I know we've done this already, Miss McLean, but we're doing it again, and we will keep. It's like when you're teaching, you have to review. You have to keep reviewing. Yeah, because it's important. I think Rose wants to say something, and what we want to do is to, after she's finished, you want to read the response from the retired Chief Justice David Simmons. We want to read that, and if you notice on the screen, there is Trisha Watson, who is a bit. I mean, she's really fighting about on concerning this bill, and her and Ryan Watson
Walters.
Need to write it down. Ryan Walters and our leader of the opposition, the three of them, they are really fighting this thing. And she says, who should be concerned about the cybercrime bill 2024? It's bloggers, it's creatives, it's the media that printed the same thing that the Chief Justice said. The Nation newspaper, yes. Starcom. What about them? What about brass tacks? Politicians, activists, hosting services, columnists, pastors. They're not there, but
you will have a silent society, Marcia. Quite a silent
society. And already people are so timid. Miss Corbin, before you come, can I tell you this, Miss Corbin? that we had over, I can't remember, could be about 1,300 persons who read the petition of the cybercrime bill, against the cybercrime bill, the petition against the cybercrime bill. We had over 1,300. I'm going to get the correct number before the night is up. That read it. You know how many signed it? Over 300 and something. And Calvin, who lives overseas, he wrote, and he said that Marcia people are reading it, but they're afraid to sign it. They're afraid to sign the petition. So you telling me a society that is already so afraid, you are now bringing something else? This is the heights of oppression and wickedness. And as Miss McLean said, it's disappointing to see someone of the caliber of Sir David Simmons to come out to be part of that tool of intimidation. It is disappointing. And if this hurts your feelings, sir, I hope it does, so that you will do the right thing. I hope you're offended by this disappointment. If you're listening tonight, I really hope you're offended by it, because you might come and do the right thing. Miss Corbin, where are you? Where are you? Good night, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Rose.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Maxine. And
thank you.
I am following through on this whole discussion on the cybercrime bill, and to let you know that I spent all Thursday and Friday preparing some submissions with 3 others to get into the Joint Select Committee. And in doing my research, I'm prompted to by the Sir David Simmons's submission and his obvious emphatic support for the bill. I thought that I should do some further research. So Martha's, it wasn't due to come on, and I've just come on at your invitation. So I have not had a chance to do thorough presentations here on PowerPoints. But we sent Dave, I don't know if Dave has it, but we sent Dave a document, the report of the Law Reform Commission, June 2019 to December 2022. I'm fighting some throat issues. And so if we look at the cover note, it's a letter of transmittal dated 24th of February 2023, and Maxine and Caswell, I don't know if you've got this report, so I will need to be guided by you, Maxine and Caswell, former senators, on this one. But the letter of transmittal to the Attorney General Dale Marshall from Sir David Simmons reads, Dear Attorney General, report of the Law Reform Commission for the period June 2019 to December 2022. In accordance with Section 34.1 of the Law Revision and Law Reform Act 2019-6, I submit the report of the Law Reform Commission for the period June 2019 to December 2022 for your attention and for tabling in Parliament. Yours faithfully, and he signed off, Chairman of the Law Reform Commission. Therefore, there is invested interest and support, whatever it may be, from Sir David based on his involvement, his chairmanship, and the work that has gone into this particular bill as well as others. Now, I am just going to extrapolate, pull out the ones related to the cybercrime bill and trace its development, which brings us to this point. Now, amongst the terms of reference, just as I said, I am between my cell phone and this. But the terms of reference on page, let me blow that up. On page 2 says, amongst other things, that the Law Reform Commission shall systematically keep the law under review for the purpose of developing, modernizing, and simplifying the law. Therefore, one has to ask the question, if initially, as I see here, the Computer Misuse Act wasn't included. Well, I have to look again. But what I do know is that we have to ask the question, if the law under review, which is the Computer Misuse Act, if we would say that that was kept under review, systematically kept under review for the purpose of developing, modernizing, and simplifying. In my opinion, Caswell, you can correct Maxine, I think that instead of modernizing and simplifying, it has become more complicated, more arduous, more draconian, more punitive. I don't know. I don't know, but that has been my reaction in looking at what we are considering and the concerns we have. May I ask, I'm just pulling out to, as I said, to show the process that was used to bring us to this point. I think I shall ask that we move on to page 8. Pardon me, listeners, but as I said, I was invited to come on tonight at short notice, so I didn't have the opportunity to pull out as I wanted to.
Yeah,
but
Miss Corbin, you can give us. I know it wasn't your night, but you can give us a shorter version.
I can't, Marcia. I can't really, because I don't just want us to what I do know. Let's look at page 8 quickly. Page 8, it indicated that they were going to get assistance from the Commonwealth Secretariat for assistance in helping with this. Let's look at page 8. We see here the commission proposed to come under the Computer and Computer-Related Crime Bill. It was called the Computer and Computer-Related Crime Bill. And the commission proposed to commence work on this bill during the year, using as models a bill drafted by the Commonwealth Secretariat and a Jamaican Act. I want us to see how we get here. The recommendation was to get assistance from the Commonwealth Secretariat and a Jamaican Act. Let us go now to page 14. If you could find page 14 for me, hope I'm not leaving out anything. I believe in systematic, logical progression, and that's why I'm doing it. Because if we are responding to some of the submissions, the utterances of the chairman, Sir David, we need to understand how we got here. Look at the cybercrime legislation on page 18, and it reads section 328. The commission agreed to have Crown Counsel present a paper to determine whether the Computer Misuse Act was in need of reform or not, having regard to the passage of time since the enactment of that act, the development of technology, and the threat of cybercrime. Subsequently, the Commission received a consultation paper from Crown Counsel in which she explained that the model draft legislation from the Commonwealth Secretariat was deficient in many respects. It was agreed that the Commission would include a project for new cybercrime legislation in its work program for 2021. That's how we got here. Let's look at what page that was, page 14. Let's go to page 16. And we see proposed work program for the Law Reform Commission for fiscal years 2021 to 2024. And they talk about the work that will be undertaken. And at number 3, cybersecurity legislation. The Commission will commence work on this legislation using as models a bill recently drafted by the Commonwealth Secretariat and a Jamaican Act. Next one, page 18, that's page 16. Page 18, let's go to page 18. Cybercrime legislation. Crown Counsel's consultation paper on cybercrime legislation, including the relevance of the Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters Act, highlighted several serious deficiencies in the existing Computer Misuse Act, especially with regard to enforcement and procedure. On the other hand, Guyana had a more comprehensive and contemporary statute. The Commission agreed to use the Guyana statute as a guide to new legislation. Mark that. They had said, okay, the Commonwealth Secretariat was deficient. They were going to use the Jamaican Act as a model. Then they said they would use the Guyana statute.
Okay.
From research, it has not been used. Let us go now to page 19.
Okay, the thing is this, we're not seeing that information on the different pages. But read it, but David's not seeing that. So that we love to show that to the audience, but we're not seeing that.
It's there in the report that I sent to Dave.
Okay, all right, no problem. We'll keep checking. I'll just read.
But I'm reading from my cell phone as is given. So I'm not editing it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Workshop on Cybercrime, Council of Europe. So we jumped now from drawing on the models of Guyana, and now in the report from Sir David, we have a section on the Council of Europe, and this should be of interest to us. In February 2021, the Commission was informed that the Council of Europe wished to assist Barbados, follow this, in drafting new cybercrime legislation. A preparatory meeting was held on the 9th of April 2021 under the sponsorship of the Commission. The Minister of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology, Senator the Honorable Ms. Kim McConney, and Ms. Joanne Clark of the Chambers of the Chief Parliamentary Council were specifically invited. It was agreed that the Council of Europe would sponsor a workshop on the 14th and 15th of June 2021 to discuss the content of new cybercrime legislation while conducting a thorough analysis of the Computer Misuse Act. The objective of the workshop was to develop new legislation that would facilitate Barbados's ascension to the Budapest Convention, for which the Council of Europe has oversight. See who or what is driving this or has driven it.
Yes.
In the meantime, in April 2021, the Commission contracted, can you call the name Caswell and Maxine that is given in this report?
Yes, that is a report of Parliament. You can call anything.
I can call it. Yes. In April 2021, the Commission contracted Mr. Stephen Williams, consultant on cybercrime, to assist the Commission for a period of 6 months in its preparation of new legislation. Crown Council sent to the Council of Europe a copy of a consultation paper on cybercrime prepared by her for the Commission. The workshop in June was a huge success. It covered primarily drafting of a new bill and capacity building. 2 drafters from the Chambers of the Chief Parliamentary Council attended. A follow-up workshop was scheduled for the 22nd and 23rd July 2021. The Council of Europe offered to conduct at its expense training for members of the judiciary, magistracy, and prosecutors. On the 22nd and 23rd of July, the 2 drafters met with officials of the Council of Europe to review outstanding issues before preparing a final draft of a new cybercrime bill. The 2 drafters, and permission to call their names, Caswell?
You can call the names once they're in there.
The 2 drafters, Miss Ria Drakes and Miss Joanne Clark, were highly complimented by the officials of the Council of Europe for the quality of their work. A final workshop was held on the 3rd of December 2021. That is how we have reached this point. May I go quickly to page 22? Marcia, we're coming.
Yes, that's correct. The last page. Yes, thank you.
But I hope you understand why I'm doing this.
Of course I do, yeah.
Right? You know I like to be thorough. Page 22. Is it page 22? Circulation of the draft cybercrime bill. The Commission agreed in February 2022 to circulate the draft cybercrime bill as well as a companion bill amending the Mutual Assistance in Criminal Matters Act, Cap 140, and explanatory memoranda to various persons concerned with the administration of justice and law enforcement. The deadline for return of comments was 31st of March 2022. On page 24, they said that the page 24, the final draft was by November 2022, a draft cybercrime bill 2022 was ready to be sent to the Attorney General. However, the Commission was requested to hold the bill pending a report from Ms. Rodriguez on her attendance at a meeting in Costa Rica hosted by the Council of Europe. In the result and arising from Mrs. Drake's attendance at the meeting, the bill was further amended to include the additional offenses of child grooming, online sexual, child abuse, revenge pornography, cyberbullying, and cyberterrorism. The draft Cyber Bill 2023 and the draft Mutual Assistance in Criminal Matters Amendment Bill 2023, together with explanatory memoranda, were forwarded to the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology in January 2023 for further action. And then they wanted to thank, then the last paragraph thanks the councils and the Council of Europe for, and it says the Commission expects that after formal drafting instructions are given by the Cabinet to develop new cybercrime legislation, the draft prepared by Ms. Drakes and Ms. Clark will ensure the bill's speedy progress to Parliament. So that is the historical overview and the journey of this bill from when it was the Computer Misuse Act was part, and that wasn't really the initial part of the mandate given to the Law Reform Commission. That came in, and as we said, the terms of reference for the Law Reform Commission was to examine and critique and modernize. Now, what my research has shown me, and a technical person here who is very much informed on the various cybercrime bills throughout the world, told me that Britain, instead of creating new legislation, because the argument that they are giving, and the Honorable Minister Cattle gave in leading off the debate, is that given the trends in technology, etc., that we have to have a more updated, modern act in place. But what I think happens in the UK jurisdiction is that they modernize it to keep up or to be ahead of the trends in technology, and therefore they have not done that drastic reformation or rewriting of that particular bill, but they modernize it. And I do not see in my study, but I'm here, I'm a novice. I am just looking at it out of the box as a novice and not a technocrat. I do not see why we should repeal the Computer Misuse Act and give this punitive, draconian, subjective bill to be enacted and driven, as you would see, my colleagues, by the Council of Europe.
Yeah. Very well done.
That is where I'm at. Thank you.
Yeah, well done. I would love, you know what? I tell you, I know I grabbed you tonight because I thought this is so important that we have our show needed to be very strong because there was, I think it was 2 pages or 3 pages from the retired Chief Justice Simmons. And that was done deliberately in order to promote the bill among Barbadians and to put wool over our eyes. And so I'm so glad that you came on. I felt like you had something to say and you needed to come on. And I think this history, Miss McLean, is so important. Though we see how the genesis of it, and we see the Chief Justice was saying that, we're following what Guyana did, we use Guyana, as however, now we're seeing that they really didn't follow Guyana. They went the Council of Europe, that they were doing the training. They trained the drafters and they commended drafters when it was finished, right? Ms. McLean, any thoughts on what you just heard?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of things here. There's nothing wrong per se with looking at what happens internationally and regionally. In the case of, we have drawn over the years, if you look at a lot of our legislation, as members of the Commonwealth, we've drawn that. As members of CARICOM, we kind of try to find certain, what we call coherence. But my question really and truly, if in fact you are doing that, because as Rose was talking, I was looking back at the Budapest Convention. And the question I would ask the drafters here, I would ask the former Chief Justice, the current Chief Justice, the current Attorney General. When we look at this piece of legislation, I mean, I say the current Chief Justice because he's the head of the system, so quote unquote. When we look at this legislation, have we gone beyond what is set out there? And I would say so. In fact, one of the things that I need to read, because in doing a review, I had a conversation with somebody and they were saying that we talk about malicious communication in our legislation. And as far as the person is saying to me, I have to go back and check. That is not in the Budapest Convention. So while we look for coherence and we are part of a global family, and I'm putting on my former foreign affairs hat, why, when we choose to pursue that coherence, is everything relevant to Barbados? That's one kind of question. The second question we want to ask, are we going above and beyond? Because reference is made to Guyana. I will now have to go and read the legislation from Guyana to see what they are providing. The challenge really and truly, and this to me, there's what I would call an internal element to this, where, as we can see based on what we are doing and the reactions you get from some in authority, they would like to shut us down. But then we also have this, I have a sense, let me put it that way, because I can't speak categorically that we have, but when I observe certain actions and decisions on the part of this government, and as I say, the chief or sometimes only spokesperson is the Prime Minister herself. When I look at what is said and done in the international sphere, it is as if Barbados wants to go there and say, we have done this first. We have gone farther than everybody else. So I ask myself really and truly, what is the rationale for a lot of these provisions? We know the consequences and so on, but have they really looked to see whether or not they make sense in the context of this country? And in fact, why do we feel the need, if we have done so, to go beyond what other people have done? And that is my concern. Because at the end of the day, when we look at some of these things, then we have to ask ourselves, have we basically, to put it very bluntly, have we gone overboard?
Yeah. Mr. Franklin, your thoughts on Rose's?
I am grateful to Rose because Rose educated me there. her submission, because I didn't know about this report. And I think this report, no, I don't think, I know this report went way beyond what they have done here. This cybercrime bill went way beyond the remit of the Law Reform Commission. They're minding other people's business. The Law Reform Commission is set up by an act of Parliament. The Law Reform Commission Act. And I think the section 31. Functions and powers of the Law Reform Commission. I used to work in the Attorney General's office as a clerk. And this Law Reform Commission that we have is a step up from the law reform that we had before, because we have the Law Reform Commissioner who used to keep the laws updated. That was his job, to keep the laws updated. Like, remember the other night I was talking about bringing laws, like for the one with the 1948, so a small estate was $15,000, and it's still for $15,000 this in 2024. They were met recommendations to change the law, because then the law would then be drafted by the Chief Parliamentary Council, not somebody that the Law Reform Commission borrows from the Chief Parliamentary Council to come like almost like seconding them. This is an overreach. David Simmons' role in this whole process is an overreach from the functions of the Law Reform Commission. The Law Reform Commission shall systematically keep the law under review for the purpose of developing, modernizing, and simplifying the law. This is keep it under review, not go out there and draft nothing, right? The Law Reform Commission shall have the following powers. A, to receive and consider any suggestions or formal proposals for the reform of the law which may be made to the Commission. B, to prepare and submit to the Attorney General from time to time programs for the examination of different branches of the law with a view to reform, including recommendations as to whether such examination should be carried out by the Commission or some other body. C, to undertake pursuant to any recommendations approved by the Attorney General, the examination of particular branches of the law and the formulation of proposals for reform, not drafting. D, to provide at the instance of the Attorney General advice and information to ministries and departments of government and other authorities which are concerned with proposals for the amendment or reform of any branch of the law. And E, to obtain such information as to the laws and legal systems of other countries as appears to the Commission likely to facilitate the performance of any of its functions. That's the power of the Commission. What this Law Reform Commission has done is to step way outside its remit, to come up here and get people to help draft these things, because, let me put it, David Simmons is MOTTLEY's cousin. Or Marcia, you look shocked.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they are. So she wants a legal mind to get her things done. She pumps on him, because but this is not his role, not the role of the Law Reform Commission. See, friends, family.
Yeah, and he came on and he spoke for almost 3 hours.
Of his 10 minutes?
More than 2 hours. What?
Right.
So they brought him in for a particular reason. You're telling me, I want Barbadians to, and I'm just repeating what you just said, that you are saying that this is Mia Motley's cousin. You see this whole thing. So she really wants this bill to go through. Could it be that? Could that be the reason why he was called in to make up? So he just came in to make a presentation for almost 3 hours, and then they're telling us.
Marcia, wait a minute. 10 minutes. I want you to take this again. He spoke for 3 hours of his 10 minutes. Because everybody getting 10 minutes. So you see, it's a setup. It's a whole thing.
Would have been decided, determined not to be an ordinary presentation, I presume.
No, he has been. If they said they began 10 minutes, the witnesses are given 10 minutes. He had 3 hours of his 10 minutes.
Right.
You know?
And I wondered if he wrote his speech and sent it in. You know, I'm just saying, did he write his speech and send it in? You know, I mean, to allow himself.
That modification wasn't in place yet.
Repeat, Ms. McLean.
That modification to the press release about the written, if you're doing oral, was not in place when he spoke.
When he spoke, it only happened on Friday afternoon. You know, this is something, as Barbadians, I hope you are listening. I hope you're watching. I hope you're seeing what is happening. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Remove the wool that they're trying to place over your eyes. If we look at even just his, let's just take a quick look, Mr. Franklin. While you're completing, let me get Dave to.
No, I just read what I wanted to do. That is it. I've completed actually.
Yeah. Well, let's look at his article to the press, where he's talking about the impact of social media and that this bill was long overdue. Rose, I don't know if you had the chance to read it today. Now, I read. There's a section of it. He's talking about a case with a cricketer and so on, and how porn was sent on the internet. We are not talking about those sections, and you very well know those are not the sections we're talking about. Now we need to talk straight, Miss McLean. I'm not being disrespectful, but don't come with that to us.
You're correct.
No, but any well-thinking person, you're telling us about the impact of social media on privacy. We understand that. We're not talking about that, Sir David Simmons. No. So don't come and bring that up at this time, telling me about porn. You think we are here advocating that people pass porn on the internet?
Yeah, he also mentioned that somebody sent him to invitation to some thing. Oh yeah, don't go. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna go.
Invitations to what? What was he invited to?
Or register a complaint against the sender, because there are mechanisms with the various things that you can, Facebook, whoever else, and that you can complain about things that you receive that you shouldn't be receiving.
You know, and this
all he had to do is delete the invitation, and then if he even saw incensed, he's gonna come here and try to skew people's minds away for what is really important, to come up with to justify the unjustifiable, because what they have done here is not justifiable. And the Nation, Antoinette Connor's article today, I don't know if it was written by him and she put a name on the top. I wouldn't do that to her, but it is a PR piece for him, you know. And again, the man called my name and this foolishness. I don't like when they call my name and things. And you saw, Marcia, I read the section again tonight. So how can he say that I was not telling the truth?
Yeah.
When I read the section of the law, I read the section. I didn't editorialize or anything. I read the section.
Just right.
That is a lie.
You know that. So he's saying, he's talking about you know, whatever is obscene and it's reckless and all of that. We understand that. And that the bill, he's talking that it is, you know, so people get a read of this, and everybody need to, you know, write a little response to him and put it on your pages. Don't be afraid. You have to deal with this head on. This is PR. The Prime Minister is using her cousin for PR because she wants to be the first in the Caribbean to put this out, because nobody else has anything like this. Nobody else.
Simple, Marcia. It's simple. No, but we are not saying that we shouldn't have cybercrime legislation. Nobody's saying that. People are saying if you want to bring the legislation, bring legislation that makes sense, that is reasonable, and that will address the very serious issues. So the things that he's using to illustrate, we all agree that they should be criminalized. But why are you not speaking to the things that people are concerned about, rather than choosing examples that nobody's challenging? That's the basic thing. It's like dragging a red herring to say we're not saying. I mean, that cricket example was a horrible thing for a man to do to an ex-girlfriend or partner, wife, or whoever she was to him. You know, and nobody would condone that. But that's not what we're talking about. Like you see, they're sidestepping the issues that we just raised.
And we're not playing any games with you all. I am telling you, I'm not being disrespectful, but I'm saying no, don't come to us with that. We understand that there's a bill that have many other parts to it. You know very well the sections that we are concerned about, that Barbadians are concerned about, and that you know that you put it there. You know the purpose of which you put it there. You know very well why it is there. Because you don't want to leave power. Let's talk straight, because I'm not in any joking and wasting any time. You do not want to. You don't want to leave power. You know exactly why it is put there. You're protecting yourselves, and that little man there. He said it for you all, and it slipped out.
Yes, the little almost senator fella.
Senator, yes, a little guy there. It fell out of his mouth. It was put there to protect you. And Barbadians understand the wool is moved from our eyes. We're up wide awake. So, David Simmons, thank you for all the work you've done for Barbados in the past. This is not saying that you should not, that we don't honor you. But what you have done now and what you are allowing your cousin to use you to do, it's disappointing. And it's not becoming. That's not what we expect of you. And you all want to put me on the country now because I say this about a sir. But it is true. That's my feeling, my opinion on it. Because now you come talking to us about porn. You hear us on here talking about no porn? No, I'm telling you. Yeah. Go ahead, Rose.
Yes. As Maxine says, and I think we all agree, we do need to have checks and balances to protect the individual and to protect the country. We are not about that. But what I do not accept is the manner in which we are being reprimanded for saying, look, this is not acceptable. This has serious implications. This has, look at us, our context, look at us domestically. I heard the minister in her debate, leading off the debate, Minister Cattle, saying, look, this is to satisfy the international requirements and stipulations. And I'm saying that it is being done at the expense of us, the people here. We are the ones that will be subjected to draconian seizure. They're going to seize. We're going to be arrested. We're going to be fined. We are going to be accused of all of those subjective emotions that we cause, even though. And I'm saying it is to protect the political set persons. I am seeing that it is they're talking about child pornography and child sexual abuse and those things. We are in support of that. But I object to this kind of wrapping us on our knuckles when we say that this is unacceptable, that the explanation that Sir David sought to give was more of a reprimand. This is the best thing since Ray Juicy and milk and sliced bread. This is the best thing that can be held up. Didn't the AG come out afterwards and said to the press that the consultants from the Council of Europe said it is an enviable piece of legislation? So are we doing these things to please those who are looking on, and to satisfy another person's international agenda at the expense of other people here who are stressed and already traumatized about the impact of this bill on them? And I am seeing the bigger picture. I'm saying it isn't really about us at domestic, national, local level, but it is more to impress the international onlookers, the international agenda of one individual. Look, Barbados has done it. Let's move on. And that is not how it should be. And therefore, I am disappointed to Marcia and my colleagues here at the response of the Barbadian populace to this. This is really serious. And even if you did not want to submit in your own name, you could have responded and used this platform, and we had persons who were willing to submit your submission under their cover, and we did not get that response. And because of that apathy, this government acts. This government does things because of our apathy, because they already know, them ain't going to do nothing about it. Only a few going to protest, and we're going to ignore them. And that disturbs me. And I think that this cybercrime bill has built on that psyche of the Barbadian public. They know already, they anticipate that we're going to shrug our shoulders, accept it, and say, well, what we could do about it. And this isn't the time or the occasion to do about it. You see how they have brought out the chairman, and I don't know, and Caswell, you have to correct me about protocol, but I don't know why the chairman had to come out and defend. It is not the law reform in its entirety that he was called to give an account for. Why come out and give that long explanation on just one aspect of the mandate that was given to the Law Reform Commission? That puzzles me.
Yes, it does.
Rose, you've made some very good points in that submission that you made just now. That is one. And because that is not his role. That is the role for the minister responsible for the bill. You know, not him. He is not the minister responsible, but he might feel so because he probably did it. But the minister responsible, whoever that was, if Marcia Cattle led the bill, that was her.
Yeah, but I think he seems himself as an endorser. He's
right?
Probably, yeah.
No, he was merely a witness in that thing, and that's why I said he spent 3 hours of his 10 minutes. Right? The other thing that you said was earlier, very early when you started this last presentation, was the way he spoke out about the people. It is contrary to the rules of Parliament to call people names. If you're going to call people names, you've got to get permission from the president or whichever the presiding officer is. And you certainly don't attack people from the floor of the House who cannot defend themselves. Now, if you were going to say something nice about me and that kind of thing, no problem. But if you're going to say something, now I should be able to respond to you. I can't. I don't have any voice in there. So you should not. And he knows that.
Yeah.
After all, I said it before on the show, he was the leader of government business in the House of Assembly for a number of years under Owen Arthur. He's the fellow who did all the preliminary work for the bills. Maxine was the leader of government business in the Senate. He was the leader of government business and things. So she would know the rules and he knows them. And Maxine could attest to what I'm saying is true. He knows that he was breaking the rules of Parliament, but he did it nonetheless. He was doing it for his cousin.
Yeah, you see that, and this is what happens in the nepotism. But there's an article, thanks to Mr. Franklin, on the screen, and I think that I think that this is important. This article here, and from ADRIAN Green, and he's putting the whole thing in context. He says the compulsory acquisition of Draxall plantation is on hold. The voice of the people has prevailed. That voice is amplified and empowered today by the internet and social media. Listen carefully. It is not always a power that is used responsibly, but the solution is not to stifle it. Educate it and develop a more positive and responsible culture around it. A cybercrime bill is definitely necessary. However, the proposed bill in its present form causes concerns. Anything can be claimed to cause annoyance, embarrassment, or emotional distress, which the bill criminalizes. The chairman of the Law Reform Commission says the courts will decide. Errol Barra said, if you want justice, stay out of the law courts. Most of us do not have the resources to manage should an annoyed person seek to take us to court. This bill could have a chilling effect on the voice of Bajans at a time when it is coming into its own. Barbadians are getting a voice. I have to pause here to agree with the author, ADRIAN Green. I read this article and I said, he is feeling what I'm feeling. He's saying what I'm saying. When you put everything in context, this is coming to quash what is happening, to throw cold water, to put us back to sleep, Barbados. That is what is happening. The government of Barbados halted its plans to Draxall due to the voice of the citizens of Barbados. Opponents of this administration will paint this as a mark of incompetence. Its supporters will paint it as a mark of responsiveness. For those who are less interested in political drama, the main take-home will be the political power that an awakened, active, and involved citizenry can wield. It highlights a major task today in the long liberation march through emancipation, the 1937 uprising, independence, republicanism, and beyond, which is for Barbados to take a more active and vocal approach to our own governance. And that is what the show has been advocating. A populace which cannot find its voice is as great a problem as a government which stifles it. Let me read that again. A populace which cannot find its voice is as great a problem as a government which stifles it. There is a common notion that Bajans are docile and don't take anything seriously. While we may not be vocally aggressive as some of our neighbors or burn tires in the street like some others, the throwing words on Jamaica, these highly visible and emotive forms of expression are neither the beginning nor the end of effective action. And while we may not be as extravagant in our protests, it does not necessarily mean that we are less effective. It may be that rather than being docile, Bajans are measured when it comes to protests. They may be for several reasons. And it talks about the nation having a long history. But I want to read a little bit here about the slave code before I close on this. But I think that this is a great article. I love this article. In 1661, Barbados passed the first comprehensive slave code in the English Americas. Let me read that again, Miss McLean. This is what we want to be the first to do this cybercrime bill in the Caribbean. I tell you, and I've been talking on the show since last week about the slave code, which is still on the books. In 1661, Barbados passed the comprehensive slave code in the English Americas in order to better manage its profitable but unruly slave society. According to Rugemer, it was updated in 1688 due to continued slave resistance and plots of rebellion. The slave code was updated in 1688 because there was rebellion. It was not a docile and submissive Barbadian African population that necessitated structures to keep them in check. Quite the opposite. These measures of control worked so well that the Buster Rebellion in 1816 caught the planter class totally by surprise. They were of the opinion that they had their enslaved population totally subdued. Listen, my Barbadian people, listen. They were as caught up then in a myth of Barbadian African docility as some are today. I tell you, oh my Lord, they were wrong. What appeared to be submission and docility was actually patience and restraint. Listen, this article, I love Miss McLean. This is what is in my heart. This is what I feel. This is what Miss McLean, any thoughts there on what I read? I don't know if you read.
I think Mr. Green generally writes very well. I think he has in the article he captures the main concerns, the attitudes to Barbadians, and I think, as you said, this is important reading for Barbadians, young people in particular need to read this, because at the end of the day, we are talking cybercrime, and in Caswell and in my case, we closer to 70 than to 60 right now. But it is our young people who use social media, who are the upcoming citizens who have to ensure that their interests are well served, that they understand what is that, that rules and regulations are important. But when you are seeking to muzzle a population in a situation where people, if you think of the conversations that Barbadians are having for the most part on social media, let's say, no, you're going to see you're dealing with matters, political things that impact their lives, policies, programs, the performance of the economy, and whatever else, jobs that they cannot get, frustrations, mental health. All of these are issues that governments have to address. And if people are commenting out of the lack of them or whatever, listen to what people are talking about and ask yourself, how do we respond to that? So I think this article touches very much on what we are talking about, why we're talking about it, the implications of us not talking about it, and having legislation passed that will prevent us from talking.
Yes. Mr. Franklin, any thoughts on this article?
There is one section, one sentence in that article that I wanted to say something about it before, but I didn't, in my anger or whatever I had, and I know now that he's brought it back up, I want to touch it. So David Simmons said that the courts will decide.
Yes.
When you draft laws, you do not draft laws for the courts to decide, because you draft laws for the guidance of the people. When you are forced to go to court for the court to decide what these things mean, it says that the legislation is poor. It is not friendly. It is not user friendly, because legislation should be so specific that you understand, the average man understand what it means. So when they make terms, and then you have to go and get the court to decide what this term means, that legislation has failed. That because how many people will be able to go to the court? The legislation should be clear and specific, and only in the case of ambiguity should you have to and you try to eliminate ambiguities in the law when you're drafting it. You do not put it up there so that nobody understands or nobody knows what it means, so that when you get caught, then the courts will have to come and find a way to interpret what Parliament meant. No, Parliament should legislate as far as possible what it means. Now, if there is a problem, then you shouldn't draft it so that the courts will decide. You should draft it that Maxine, Caswell, Marcia, Benjamin, everybody could understand what it means. So this piece of legislation, I think, even though they started from 2021 trying to lock us up, it was rushed. It seemed as though they had a kind of hiatus, and then they're rushing there and do this thing because the law should be better defined. You do not want laws out there where the average man can't understand them. For until you do that, you have failed. The law has failed, or the legislation has failed to get his message across, because you want people to know what they're doing wrong. You don't want a fellow to know that he's done something wrong when the police come and tell him.
Yeah.
So this piece of legislation should not only it should be drafted, or rather, or better yet, the Computer Misuse Act could be amended to fix the areas that you wanted to fix and forget all these other things that they want to do to us. It is totally unnecessary. It is trying to create a system in Barbados where the politicians rule. And I'm not talking about govern, I'm talking about rule. We're having a dictator. These are laws set up for dictatorship.
Yeah.
Because the little boy, I keep calling him little boy, the almost senator, he was quite clear. And the Prime Minister and the Minister of Home Affairs were there sitting down when he was speaking. Now, if what he was saying was untrue, they should have corrected him. But this is to protect the ministers. This is to protect Minister Conrad Abrams. This is what he said.
Yeah.
This is protect this woman. This is our Prime Minister. So this is what this legislation is about. It is not about justice for anybody. It is to cover us down to protect the Prime Minister. So when we speak out, that is what that letter, or those letters that we got, is supposed to do, to frighten us, to cover us down.
Yes. Let me just hear from Mrs. Corbin. What can you give us your thoughts briefly on what this article? Any comments on it?
What I like the last two sentences. In this cyber age, the abuse of the freedom of speech is a real problem, but so is the abuse of the power to curtail speech. Sorry about that. Let me read it again. In this cyber age, the abuse of the freedom of speech is a real problem, but so is the abuse of the power to curtail speech. A good place to end on in that article. And you know that with this cyber bill, articles like these will be carefully scrutinized, and somebody could say it is causing trauma and pain. The things said in this from writers like Mr. Green. So we have to look at the far reach of this cyber bill. And I was thinking too, if we look back quickly at the same when they had to put the the final draft on hold because one of the drafters was in Costa Rica. And that coming from out of that meeting, they had to go back and include things like child pornography and cyber terrorism and so forth. That shows that even the preparation, the drafting of the bill lacked, and they should pull it and critique it again and do what the Law Reform Commission, Caswell, could you read that first reference again? What the Law Reform Commission, through an act of Parliament, was given to do. I think that's what needs to be done at this point before it goes any further.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ms. Corbin. Thank you so much, Mrs. Corbin. Now, there is an article, and I don't know what I did with it, but probably Ms. McLean or Caswell might be able to help me to find it. But it's an article which was written back in 2018, before this government came into power, where the other administration, Ms. McLean, was trying to pass a police act. And the PM, well, at the time she was in opposition, Mayor Mottley, and also according to the article, David Commission, they went on a rampage, and I had it in my phone, and I don't know why I'm not finding it now.
I've found it.
Can you send it to Dave, please? Tell me, Mr. Franklin, General. Keep calling you Doctor General Franklin. Can you send it to?
I'm forwarding it now.
Yes, because I think that we need to examine this response of Commission and David Commission, the ambassador to the Caribbean, and to CARICOM's yeah, and
another cousin.
Another cousin. You see what is happening. These two cousins, what they had to say about this, and they were right in what they were saying. A lot of these, because it was going to have a lot of more curfews and all of that, and they now were standing up for human rights and people's constitutional rights, and so that is what is happening now. And I want us Barbadians to look at this fairly, look at what is happening, and ask ourselves, where are the David Commissions? So we don't have him, but we have over near 1,300 commissions on here tonight. I know some people don't even want that label on them, but if you understand what I mean in terms of activism, right? In terms of activism, okay. But what I'm saying is that look at what has happened. We don't need a David Commission because we have ourselves. We have ourselves. This is what. If someone could send it to my phone so I can read. Mr. Franklin, you have it. You can read what the article is saying. Read it for us.
Oh, I'd move it off. Let me get back for it.
Yes.
Let me go back for it. I just sent it to Dave and I just shut it down.
Yes. Okay, Dave can send it to me then.
Yeah, Dave has it. I just, it's on the screen.
Opposition leader Mayor Mottley is warning the Frondel's short administration not to trample on the rights of the Barbadian people. She accused government of arbitrarily taking away the rights of people, quote, with the proposed amendment to the Police Act, which will see the Royal Barbados Police Force, RBPF, being able to impose extended curfews on residents and businesses in selected communities. The amendments also speak to commanding the end to social gatherings, searching the premises of residents without the requirements of a search warrant. Wait, hold on. Okay, without a search warrant, as well as increasing the powers to stop and search persons and motor vehicles, also to be carried out without a search warrant. Speaking to party supporters at a mass meeting in Bank Hall on Sunday night, Motley said, scroll up a bit, quote, if Frondel was, go back now, if you're going past, okay, if Frondel was representing the youngsters in the Bayland or Britain's Hill, he would know that there's a real issue in striking the balance. To give people the powers to go in a man's or woman's house from 5 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night without a search warrant cannot be something that is passed in the House of Assembly under the cover of night. Now, before I go any further, I think we would need to pull up the piece of legislation and read the provisions. But I recall, because I would have been part of that cabinet. And Marcia, you see that my eye is working. My eyes are working.
And you're reading without glasses. Excellent.
But as I said, you would need to look at the legislation, because I remember the reaction, and to me, what was being put out there and the context in which the legislation was being implemented cannot be compared to what we're looking at now. And in fact, this sends me back to read, because I've read her comments, but we can go back and look at that piece of legislation, because at the end of the day, I mean, you know, go up a little further. She said there needs to be further consultation with stakeholders, including the Bar Association and citizens, before there were any attempts to pass the bill in the House of Assembly. Mottley also said she threw her support behind any measure which would see an end to gun violence in the country, because that was a reaction to a surge in crime. We've seen an even greater surge in recent times, noting that no one can, quote, prosper in a country where there's gun violence. But she reiterated, you cannot take away people's rights. You cannot take away people's rights. When they tried in Jamaica, when they tried it in Jamaica, when they tried it in Trinidad, it did not work. Barbados is not a test tube for the Democratic Labour Party to try out things to try and win victory. So let me substitute something there. Barbados is not a test tube for the Barbados Labour Party to try out things. In other words, apply your own criticism to the piece of legislation that you're speaking to now.
Yeah, I also just sent the article where Commission is saying that the bill will create a police state. I'm dealing with the same thing. I just sent that
the same thing, and let's put it up, because we want what we want to show you is how we are playing politics with the people of Barbados.
Contradiction.
What is happening, and that's what we're not doing on the show. You know, I see people putting up, oh, let's talk about the DLP. I see Easy D's coming. We don't business about that. They will deal with their stuff. They are dealing with their stuff in the DLP. We talking about this here that will affect every Barbadian, regardless of what party. So don't bring that stuff. We're not dealing with that.
Let me quickly respond to Easy D. When the DLP passes legislation like this, I will speak to it too. We talk about legislation, and it so happens that this legislation comes under this administration, and that is why I said perhaps you need also to go and read the legislation to which these articles referred, where we're talking about the Police Act. Go and read that. We can dissect that here too, you know. But this is the problem we have. People are dealing with serious matters. You know, you wouldn't even get a chance to make that comment. Sorry, Marcia, go ahead.
Yeah. But read for me again, Miss McLean, with your good eyes. You know, your beautiful
go ahead. It's fine print, and I really shouldn't be.
Oh no, don't do it. Go ahead, Caswell. You have it.
Beware of the. I read it from the screen, so beware of the actions by the Barbadian government, which are laying the platform for the island to become a police state. That is the warning which came from President of the Climate Care Movement, David Commission, in a statement released to the media. Speaking to the bill to amend the Police Act, which was laid in the House of Assembly by Attorney General Adrian Greenene, Commission urged the public to pay close attention as it is debated in the Senate today. Go. Let's just go up to the thing. It's better there. Stressing that this action can be taken if the Commissioner of Police believes that the interests of public safety, public order, or for the purposes of preventing or detecting crime is necessary to do. As necessary to do so, Commission warned that the bill gives police powers over the Barbadian citizens' constitutionally guaranteed rights. He outlined the powers which will be given to police. 1. Command all persons within the curfew area to return to their homes or premises and remain indoors. 2. Command all businesses in the curfew area to close and remain closed. 3. Command all social gatherings.
Yeah, we don't even have to read anymore. Thank you.
All right. But he is complaining, Marcia, that they will take away our constitutional rights. This bill, when the police are going to be able to take away the computer, our right to property, and they said that if they believe that we can commit a crime on our computer, what is that is more asinine, probably that's more asinine, not asinine, that's probably 10 or 11 or 12. It can't be 9. You know? But they say no, I don't expect to hear him because he is basically there in a job that already exists called Ambassador CARICOM, because they don't really do no. Yeah, I haven't heard CARICOM, anybody, Ambassador CARICOM doing any work. I think last boy was doing any work, Ambassador CARICOM was Bobby Morris. But I could be wrong. But the last person I know was doing anything.
Yeah. But as you said, he's a cousin, and this is what happened. And here, she called on her cousin to when she was in opposition for them to fight the police act together. Nepotism again, and this is what happens, and this is what causes corruption, guys. This is what called nepotism is a form. It's a foundation for corruption. And here again, Mr. Franklin, as you've enlightened me tonight, she calls on her cousin again, Sir David Simmons, to push this kind of law on the people of Barbados, to do the very opposite, to take away our constitutional rights and our human rights. And here she's doing this again. And regardless of who is in power, I was saying this to someone, this is not common to Miss Mottley, whoever is in power. If there is an issue that we are seeing, there's an issue, a law is being passed, and our constitutional rights, our human rights are being trampled on, we must speak out. And that's why we're going on the march, Mr. Franklin, this Saturday. I hope your foot is okay by then, that you'll be out there with us.
I will use a stick.
Marcia, if I can, I would like, for the benefit of Easy D and others, just to read what was intended, because we talked about a criticism of the legislation back in 2017. Let me just read a couple paragraphs. This was the bill was called, the bill was to amend the Police Act, Chapter 167, to increase the statutory powers granted to the Commissioner and the force to protect the life and property of citizens in Barbados, to ensure peace and public order under the Act, with the use of cordons and curfews to provide for related matters. Now, and there were certain amendments. It went on to say an act to amend just to repeat the same thing, an act to amend the Police Act to increase the statutory powers granted to the Commissioner and the force to protect the life and property of the citizens of Barbados, to ensure peace and public order under the Act, with the use of cordons and curfews to provide for related matters. And basically, it said Section 2 of the Act would have been amended to insert the following definitions in appropriate alphabetical order. Curfew means the imposition of a requirement that all persons who live in a designated area of Barbados are to enter the premises in which they reside by a specified time and remain indoors for a specified period. And B, the imposition of the closure of a business and the ending of social gatherings in the designated area by specified time. It also talked about offensive weapons and so on. The basic point I wanted to make in reading that was that there were concerns nationally about the upsurge in violence and perhaps in certain kinds of areas. And what the attempted amendment attempted to do was to empower the police, not to put some universal thing covering the entire Barbados, but to deal with what they were called trouble spots or hot spots if and when necessary.
Yeah.
Contrast that now with the cyber bill, which is looking to, as I said earlier, create a silent Barbados. Because by the time you are finished with this, if it were to go into force, people would not want to open their mouths, full stop.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if ECD or anybody cannot see the difference, then I would say to them, go study it for yourself, spend some time, talk to persons of like mind, and see if like mind to them, and see if they can tell them if there isn't a significant difference.
Yeah.
And even if we felt this were problematic, we would scrutinize it the same way.
Correct.
You
Correct.
know?
And we should. We should. Well, Ms.
Of course,
McLean,
we scrutinize it.
thank you so much for that clarity. It's 4 minutes. 4 minutes to 10.
Wow.
Mr. Franklin, look at your phone and you can make that decision. Okay. But
I just let me see.
Yeah, you will determine. While you're doing that, I want to say to everybody, we have almost 1,300
Yes,
between.
yes. I was going to mention it. As a matter of fact, some person sent information to me, and I confirmed to them, yes, that's the same fellow. Right?
Yeah, so you can
that's
go ahead.
when Rose called in, I laughed. You don't realize when Rose called in, I laughed.
Yes, you did. So can you give the people the context in a few minutes? We can always pick it up tomorrow, but just so we close off here. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Franklin.
The consultant that they use is former Senator John Williams' son. They're the computer expert that they use. John Williams is the same man when they wanted to bring Rodham Adams and Kim McConnell into the Senate, that they appointed him to the Senate for 1 day. So he can come and vote the people. Because I remember when they called me and asked me if I would support legislation, I said no. So they had to go appoint two because they needed at least one other vote from the opposition in order to get it passed. And I said, not me. I should have said yes and then went vote no anything, but I was not dishonest. I could do that to them. But so they are bringing their friends and family and political yard foes into the fray to do these things. And he's always on the radio defending them, So it is not new. Marcia, before I go, I want 2 seconds to reach out.
Consultant.
Right? So he was Stephen Williams was a consultant.
Yes.
That's what we're alleging here.
Yes, he was.
Oh, he was the consultant on the bill, and it's another friends and family.
I don't know if it's on the bill, but I said he's been a long-standing IT consultant for last time this government was in office, and he is again.
No, he was, because that's what my Rose read from the letter. So that's why I laughed out when Rose read, and I held my head. Marcia, please permit me to read my little thing today. I love it so much, and everybody.
I know. We're gonna do that. So you will make that. You can make that your last comment. Okay. All right, no problem. It was very well written and very funny. Can I just say, folks, that can we have the flyer, the poster for the march?
No.
And while we're putting up the march, remember that you can still write the Parliament, email the Parliament requesting for you to give an oral presentation. All right. The fight is on. We're not, listen, we are not off dealing with this and all kinds of things tonight. We just dealt with the cybercrime bill. That's what we want to do this week, because I'm telling you, we must continue to educate. We must continue to mobilize. We must continue to agitate concerning the cybercrime bill. And not just us here on the show, but you. Remember, we said take a picture of the areas, the problematic areas of the cybercrime bill, and let's pass that out. Sit down and read it to your families. Read it at work to your co-workers. Read it at church. Read it in your prayer group. Read it at your Bible study. Put it in your WhatsApp group. Put it on your Facebook. Do all that you can to educate. We need all hands on deck, people. This is serious, and we need you out on Saturday. If they thought they had a lot of people out, Mr. Franklin, the last cybercrime bill march, they're gonna listen. We must let them shudder. We must let them shudder. Everybody, and Mr. Franklin says, if his foot is hurting him, he's gonna have a walker. He's gonna have a stick, right? We're gonna get the van, right? And those that you donate, once we get the funds, we're gonna get the van to put those who can't walk the route in. But listen, don't get weary. We can't afford to get weary in well doing. We march for freedom of expression and freedom of speech. We march for constitutional rights. We march for human rights. We are going to make our presentations for those things as well. Very, very important that we are on here and you keep sharing this show and keep putting, when you see this in a flyer, you share it, okay? All right, so enough of that. Let's have our closing remarks by Miss Corbin. Mrs. Corbin, thank you so very much for coming on at the late notice and doing such a splendid job as usual.
My final word is that we need to deconstruct this bill and own it. Own this bill. Every single one of us, whether you are D, B, whether you are a church person, faith-based organization, the alphabet people, you have to own this because it will affect, and it does affect, all of us. So get involved and show solidarity with each other so that the right thing can be done in the interest of us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Corbin, and we're going to stay on this the entire week. We're going to be following this up. You can donate. Somebody's asking how to donate to the march. Just WhatsApp 1246-236-7000, and we'll tell you how you can donate. Ordinarily, the marches, speaking off the top of my head, the marches, no, we do have Independence Square involved, and depending on the cost from the police, they're a little over 4,000 for the marches, and then we want to put it, have our van there. So I will tell you exactly when I have to wait for the police to give me the bill, like the sound and so on, as Mr. Franklin knows, those are set. Although we're writing our sound company to say, man, we've been giving you business. Can you give us a little something off the bill? It's a flat $800 each time. COSCAP is now saying, one of the artists went and complained to COSCAP. I can tell you that it's the one proud to be a Bajan, which we know where their support is, and they complain. So we now have to pay COSCAP to use it on the road. So that's an extra bill. And we pay the police, and we pay a small fee for Independence Square, and the list goes on. Okay, so any support that you can give with finances, as per usual, we it goes a far way. All right, and more Caswell and I, we don't have to pull our pockets, Caswell, as much as we did in the early stages. People are coming on board, and they are supporting. I want to just, before I go to Miss McLean, I have to give this announcement. Don't forget that we have the hike tomorrow. The hike, I said it at the beginning of the show, we're at St. Elizabeth Primary School at 5:45 p.m. a.m. At a.m. 5:45 a.m. We're at St. Elizabeth School. So this is the Joes River hike. All right. So please don't forget. Don't forget. Joes River hike. Correct. Victor is reminding us that we will continue our chat on the tour, on the hike there, Joes River hike. Miss McLean, over to you, please.
Thank you, Marcy. I like alliteration, so I'm going to say this. This cybercrime bill is full of contradictions. It demonstrates the contradictions that I mentioned earlier. It is intended to cause confusion, but we on this program will not stop until we have clarity.
Wow.
Clarity. And we will not stop because we are helping Barbadians to understand the issues that impact them. We are helping them to see how they can get them addressed. And we say to the government, and I will pick on the guy because him or her, easy it is. We don't come here to be partisan. We come here to discuss issues political, because politics is what governs all of these rules and all the things, the policies that shape what we can and cannot do, but we are not partisan. And therefore, for persons like you, it would be more helpful if you can walk through the issues and try to come to a dispassionate position on and understand what we're trying to do. We come from different persuasions, all kinds of perspectives, but at the end of the day, our focus is on doing right by Barbadians and ensuring that the people who are chosen to run this country, whoever they are, wherever they come from, seek to do the same thing.
Yes, thank you. And to the person who is saying it's rupee, that song is not rupee. If you're proud to be a Bajan, put up your hand.
No.
That's not that. We know whose song that is, and we know why they complain and want to stop us from using the song. Imagine a patriotic song. Why? Really?
Pay and find another song. Pay and find another song and pay for that other song.
Exactly. And so they don't get the royalties for it. We very well just don't use it. So they don't get
I don't have any objection to pay, but find another song and pay.
And pay, yeah. Okay, Mr. Franklin, go right ahead.
Well, I'm not going to give a presentation as such. I just want to read something I wrote on WhatsApp that then circulated, and I had a lot of responses. So I think it was very well received. So for those who didn't see it, let me just read it for you. One thing that every Barbadian, whether B or D, must accept is that Mayor Mottley is a lady of first. She is the first woman to become Prime Minister. And we have recently learned that she was also the first Barbadian, man or woman, to time travel. From her own disclosure, I was able to come to that conclusion. She said that when she was 11 years old, she read Michael Manley's book on cricket. The book was actually published when she was 23 years old. Since I take her at her word, I must conclude that at age 11 years, Mayor Mottley traveled 12 years into the future and read Manley's book. The only other explanation is that she cannot do simple subtraction. The book was published in 1988. Mottley was born in 1965. It can only mean that when she subtracted 1965 from 1988, she got an answer of 11. I hope that I have been able to clear up this matter for all Mottley doubters. And I signed it Caswell Franklin. You know, one of the people who responded to me said, but remember she said that she don't know much but maths, right?
Well, I saw it and I really laugh. I really laugh. At that. Very well written, Mr. Franklin, I must say. Very well written. Well, we're out of here tonight, guys. It's 10:09. We didn't see Kimar, but I know he's very busy in this season. And we more than likely probably will see him tomorrow. All right. So you know what? A fantastic show again. And I really hope that we are highly motivated and educated tonight. And we're going to see you tomorrow, Monday, where Reverend Ferdinand is going to lead us off. And when we come back from the George River hike, I hope I'm not full of pain. I can jump on. We will see what happens. So bye-bye, folks. And we can't go out without the song.
Bye.
That maths nor English. Pretending to be good. Hey, pretending to be good. Just pretending to be good. Hey, pretending to be good. I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
All right. Good night, people.